Am I the asshole for not giving my possibly pregnant baby daddy's girlfriend his contact after she threatened to break my family apart? So the current living situation is, I, 39 female, live in a house with Tom, 40 male, Ben, 43 male, and our 5 children, 12 male, 11 male, bio Tom and mine, 10 female, 8 female, bio Ben's and his late wife Anna, oh no, not another one, 7 female, which is the bio kid of Ben and I. Ben and I go to work. Tom's been a stay-at-home dad since 11 male was 2. He went back to school 4 years ago. Ben and I cover all household expenses, including any costs for Tom's education. Background. Tom and I met at a party when we were 19. We've been friends ever since, with benefits at times that we were both single. While on a holiday together, a condom broke on us. Due to the location, emergency contraception wasn't available, and when I turned out to be pregnant, we chose to keep that child and moved in together. We were never a couple, but worked out great as a family, so we decided to have a second kid. What the fuck? Anna was my childhood best friend. She and Ben moved into the flat downstairs from ours when she was pregnant with 10 female. I loved having her close again after living in different cities for years. Sadly, she passed away after a very complicated second labor. Ben and I found solace in each other, and I ended up pregnant again. I didn't notice right away as my method of contraception should have been safe, and I also blamed a lot of the symptoms on grief and guilt. So when I did find out, there really wasn't an alternative anymore. Tom was the first one that I told. He said he'd welcome another child into our family, and Ben was shocked and really struggled to accept it, but we kept in good contact through all of it. We all started having dinner most nights after 7 female was born. 10 female and 8 female would already spend the day, as Tom was their nanny. A couple of years later, my grandma moved on to retirement home, and Tom and I decided to move to her house. Ben asked if he could move in with us, and we agreed. It's maybe unusual, but it works for us. Here's where I might be the asshole. Tom has been with B for the last 3 years. There was some talk about him asking her to move in about a year ago, but he never did. B and I get along. We're not best friends, but I like spending time with her. Well, liked. She showed up unannounced 3 days ago and demanded to see Tom. He's currently on a skiing trip with Ben and the boys. I reminded her of that and said that I'll tell him to contact her if there is an emergency. She then proceeds to tell me that she is pregnant with Tom's child. Highly unlikely. And that she's already talked to his parents, and they will buy a house next to theirs so that they can live together there as a family, and that they will be taking the boys with them. That's when I told her to leave, which, after some yelling and insults, she did. I've since been called multiple times by her, her best friend, and Tom's parents to try and get his contact, but I'm still refusing to give it away. They've been calling me an asshole among other names for not letting him know that 1, B is pregnant, 2, he doesn't need to be abused and exploited anymore. Edit to add, Tom's had a vasectomy after 11 male. And 2, he's very low contact with his parents as they disapprove of me and our overall living arrangements. In the comments, for this long a post, there is a lot of missing information. While you explain the living situation, that doesn't explain the relationship situation. You also failed to mention why his parents would not be on your side and why they think that he is being abused. I can speculate, but it doesn't paint a pretty picture, and we all know what happens when we assume. Could you explain the relationship and Tom's parents' position? OP says, sorry, word count made it impossible to include more information. The kids consider all of us their parents. They call me Mum, Tom and Ben are Dad T and Dad B. Tom and I kept the relationship we always had, obviously currently without benefits as he's with B. Ben and I never dated. We found comfort with each other after Anna passed, but if it was more a mutual feeling of wanting to feel close to her. That stopped as soon as we knew that I was pregnant. We are friends now and have been for years. He's been dating someone seriously for the last 4 years that he met through grief counseling. She's great. Tom and Ben were friends the moment they met. Tom's parents never liked me. Mind you, the first time I met them, I was helping Tom study for his finals. His study buddy turned girlfriend 6 months beforehand, then left him 4 weeks before the final. He was a mess and had never not studied for an exam without her. I was meant to go to Colombia for an internship and wanted to go there early to travel around. I cancelled that to go to Tom's place every day instead and go through flip cards that I knew nothing about for 4 weeks straight. His parents came for a surprise visit and they weren't happy to meet me as I was there to distract him. They later on never approved of our family, stating multiple times how it's wrong for Tom to be with someone who doesn't want to marry him. It only got worse when I got pregnant with Ben's child, and we later all moved in together. They had offered multiple times before to free Tom from us and have him and the boys move closer so that he doesn't get abused for free childcare for kids that aren't his. They've been less vocal about it the last couple of years though. Vasectomies have been known to spontaneously reverse, so it is possible. I can see why you'd be dubious though. OP says, that's why he had the sperm count done. It's most likely in the months following the procedure. I think it's very unlikely to happen about 3 to 4 years later. If Tom wanted B to be in contact with him, or his parents for that matter, he would have given it to her/them. I see a lot of comments that seem to be passing judgment on your relationship status, but as it seems consensual, you do you. For not giving out contact information to someone who didn't already have it, and thus likely didn't have the consent to contact on this trip, I say not the asshole. Let him take his trip, as there isn't a lot that he can do about it from there anyway, and a stay-at-home parent needs a damn break. He can come home and tend to the mess in person. Good luck. If her pregnancy claim is true, it's probably going to be messier before it gets better. OP answers questions about Tom potentially leaving with no money or being paid for his services like a nanny. OP says, Tom used to work as a lawyer, but he hated his job. He didn't know what he wanted to do after school, and his parents convinced him to go to law school. He went back to school and wants to be a child psychologist. He's about 2 to 3 years away from being able to work in his new profession. We are currently splitting Ben and Mai's incomes 4 ways. A big part goes into household expenses, including Tom's education. The remainder gets split up equal ways between the 3 of us to do as we please. We do have a prenup that covers custody and financial support in case one of us moves out, as well as wills, to make sure that all of our assets get split evenly between all kids. Whatever Anna left in her will go to 10 female and 8 female when they turn 18. Could Tom have had a reversal? OP says, I honestly would have a hard time believing that, even if he told me himself. I trust that he would have at least given me a heads up. Why doesn't B live with them? OP says, Tom asked us about a year ago if B could move in. Ben and I agreed, but he never asked her. I don't know why. Ben and Kira are both widowed. Kira had 2 kids from her late husband, but unfortunately they hate that their mum moved on. So there's currently no plans for them to move in together, as her kids are vehemently against it. The contact is very low. We see them once a year for Tom's birthday. B would know that she'd get support there since she must know about their stance on our situation. Question asking if OP is sleeping with both men separately, together, or just living like a monk with 2 sperm donors. OP says, we are not couples, but we are family. I don't know how this is relevant, but I haven't had sex with Ben since knowing I was pregnant with his child. I'm not proud of having it in the first place, but we have a wonderful daughter from it. Tom has been with B for 3 years. We have never cheated on respective partners with each other. I personally have never been the exclusive relationship/love of my life type. I've been semi-seriously seeing someone for the last year, but I'm not interested in taking it further or having him meet my kids. How does OP see any of them being in a functional relationship and still maintaining this family dynamic? OP says, I understand that our situation isn't for everyone. We've made arrangements in case one of us wants to move out. Everyone is free to do that at any time, but so far, both Tom and Ben would have rathered their own respective partners move in than them moving away. I haven't been with anyone that I would like to have even considered taking that step yet. And now, onto the update. Thanks everyone for the support. They all came home yesterday, but with 5 kids trying to update each other and the 3 on their respective weeks, it obviously took a while until Tom and I could talk. I had completely forgotten, but him and B dropped past his parents on their way to their holiday about a year ago, the one he was going to ask her to move in, and according to Tom, they complained to him the same they always do, and he shouldn't have done it, but apparently B made a comment as they were leaving which had him doubt their acceptance of our situation for the first time. It's why he didn't ask her to move in, as it was more a feeling that he didn't want to worry us with it. He says he watched her interactions with all of us closely after that, but couldn't see anything suspicious. So after a couple of months, he was about to put it down to his imagination when he found out that B had kept in contact with his mum since their visits. That was about 6 months ago. They had a pretty big fight about it, and B promised to let it go. She begged him not to tell us so that we wouldn't think less of her. He didn't, but their relationship never really recovered. It just kinda slowly deteriorated from there. So the night before the ski trip, he was gonna ask her for a break, but that's when she hit him with the news of her pregnancy. So he knew. She also said how he would finally be able to have a real nuclear family. This led to another massive fight. He told her he'd need a paternity test, and if it was his, he would do right by the child, but that he wouldn't move away from us. Tom was shocked when I told him about B showing up here and the phone calls I've received. He apologized to me for not giving me a heads up, but I guess it's not something that you can see coming. He says he would have come home immediately if he had known. Apparently they were trying to reach B too, but Tom is slowly getting him to turn off his phone too, so he didn't see any of the messages until he got home. We checked the kids' phones after, just in case. They at least were left out of this mess. Tom's usually pretty calm, only way to survive 5 kids on a daily basis, but he was fuming. He wants to confront B straight away before we kept speculating as to why she would try to bring all of us in on it. There is a lot more, but here's the essentials. Tom would be happier with a real family. Since he can't see that, he needs to be pushed away by us, which is why B showed up and told me what Tom and her would do. She believed that I would take her word at face value as their common plans and get angry at Tom for not telling me about this and then kick him out, which would lead to him immediately moving in with her. Apparently it's Tom's mum who came up with the plan to finally free her son after I baby-trapped him years ago. I'll still answer questions for a couple of hours and will then leave this. I don't even know if I should cry at the audacity or laugh because they believed that this crazy could work. In the comments, question if Tom will be getting his sperm count rechecked to rule him out as a father. OP says he likely will get it checked again for peace of mind, though definitely asking for a paternity test regardless of the results, but that's just one of the things that need to be dealt with right now. Tom's gonna go full no contact with his parents, which I know will hurt him once he stops being this furious at them. He has also asked Ben to take over communication with B for the time being, as he doesn't see himself not yelling at her. We have to explain to the kids that B isn't going to be around anymore. We're also considering changing their phone numbers to make sure that she doesn't try to contact them. They don't deserve to be dragged into this crazy mess. We just have to figure out how to explain to them why we're doing it. She wasn't a second mother figure to them, but would be around at least once a week, so it's definitely a change for them too. Why'd you have to go and make things so complicated? I see the way you're mixing up families and plot lines gets me frustrated. Well, life's like this, you have a kid and a kid and again and one more and it turns into... This is the most exhausting family story I've ever heard, where no one's still done anything bad or is suffering. I mean, honestly, for as incredibly awkwardly messy that tangle of a relationship is, it genuinely sounds like a very healthy household, and I'm proud of all of them. I had a similar impression. The arrangement is quite unusual, but at the same time, very healthy and fair to each other. They seem to have everything figured out. One of them is primary caretaker, but the household income is split the way that he has his money to use on whatever he pleases, and his tuition is treated as household expense, not personal one. The other two are breadwinners, who have the childcare covered by the most trusted person possible. Basically, double income household with stay-at-home parent at the same time. I dare to believe that each might even have the space to breathe, where the other two pick up the slack when needed. They are prepared in advance for the situation where one of them does not want to participate anymore or simply dies. Custody, money, all that jazz. and they have it all written down, and all of them seem to be happy with those arrangements. There are plenty of traditional families who are not even in a fraction as healthy household as this unusual one. I wish them all the best. I wonder if B or his parents know about the vasectomy before coming up with this idea. I'm waiting for the results of Tom's sperm and B's baby DNA tests. I'm in the there is no baby camp. Nah, there is a baby. It's Tom's dad's. That's how desperately his parents want him back in their life. I'm ready for this wild ride. Let's go. And here's the family tree for you guys to kind of visualize what's going on here. I kind of understood it as well, but I understand that things are complicated, that's for sure. So yeah, enjoy it. That was quite a story right there. I'm sorry it doesn't have a conclusion for now, but maybe in the future it will. My 42 male, daughter's 19 female, ex-stepdad 43 male, wants to make amends with her. Should I let him? I'll try to make this as short as possible since I don't like thinking about my situation a lot. If I leave anything out, I'm sorry. In November of 2019, I, 42 male, was playing a game with my wife, 42 female, and our kids, 9 and 4 male, when I got a knock on my door. When I opened, there were 2 officers and a shy girl, who I will call Jane, who is now 19 female. I let them in and the cops explained that Jane was my biological daughter. I had no idea of this, but they bought me a DNA test. Then it all made sense. For some backstory, I had a one-night stand 20 years ago with a random woman that I met at a party. The woman was actually married, and her husband, who I'll call Steve, found out Jane wasn't his after Jane took a 23andMe test as a small gift from one of her friends. When Steve found out about this, he immediately blew up at Jane and the mum and kicked them both out of the house. During the divorce process, he told Jane that she was a lie. She would never be his daughter ever again, and he never wants to see her ever again. Jane cried and begged for him because she only ever knew of him as her father. But Steve took his name off of the birth certificate and went no contact. When I asked why she isn't staying with her bio mum, they told me that the mum fell into a depression and started taking drugs. She became verbally and physically abusive until an accident a week ago that caused her to be taken away by CPS. I agreed to let her in, and Jane bought her bags in the house. This was obviously very unstable, as for a while, Jane was shy around us. She didn't talk a lot. My wife and I were welcoming to her as much as we could. Our oldest son, Alex, immediately started loving Jane and tried to spend time with her. He always wanted a sister and spent a lot of time with Jane. Our younger son, Tony, was a newborn when she arrived, so he just grew up with her and loved her naturally. Over time, Jane started becoming more open with us. We got closer and closer, and in December of 2020, when the family was having a movie night, Jane kissed me on the cheek and said, "I love you, Dad." We all cried, except me lol, of happiness. My daughter is now a beautiful 19-year-old lady in college, and it's like we already raised her for the 19 years of her life. Now to the problem. I got a random message a week ago from someone I didn't recognize. When I opened it, I realized that Steve had sent the message. It was pretty long, so I'll just reword it here. Hello, OP. I want to talk to you about Jane. When I found out she wasn't mine, my world shattered. I kicked her out because I couldn't bear to see her after the love of my life had betrayed me in such a devastating way. I know that you had no fault in this, but it still hurts. Over the last year, I've realized that my daughter will always be my daughter, and that nothing can change that. I want to reach out to you so I can apologize to her. Please let me see her again. At first, I wanted to tell Jane, but then I remember a conversation about 7 months ago. My oldest son asked about Jane's other father, Steve, and I overheard Jane say something like, "Oh, you mean my ex-father? He doesn't realize the damage she had done to me, and it took so long to recover." I have confided in only my wife about this, and she told me to just leave the message be and to ignore it. So now I'm stuck with 3 outcomes. 1. Tell Jane about the message and raise hellfire again. 2. Respond to it myself and see how it goes. Or 3. Just ignore the message and let our life continue as normal. I'm not sure completely what to do. Edit: I forgot to mention that my daughter still lives at home since college isn't far away and she wants to save money. Just in case that's important. Also, she was more open to us about Steve as time went on, and she claims to have no love or respect for him anymore. In the comments, did Jane ever get therapy for this abandonment? OP says, I can appreciate that she said ex-father and all, but most children, even if abused or abandoned, desperately want a connection with their parents. They may talk a big game, but it's a protective mechanism. As an example, I went no contact with my father in my teens and didn't reconnect until I was in my early 30s. I spent a lot of time in therapy in my 20s regarding the abuse I suffered as a kid from both parents, but that didn't make me not want them. I get that my story is anecdotal, but you can hit up any family therapist and they could give you a lot of similar stories. I, 45 female, think that you should leave it up to Jane. Show her the message and tell her that you will support her in whatever she chooses, and nothing will change for you if she wants to see where this goes. Is Steve a jerk who royally effed up? Yes, but he's human. And had he not effed up, you'd likely not have your daughter in your life in this capacity. If she were 10, I'd likely tell Steve that he can take it up when she's an adult, but she is 19 and is an adult, so I would not take away the opportunity for her to choose for herself. If you do, and she finds out later, you'll be the bad guy. The police highly recommend that I get therapy for Jane. After the long legal part of me officially becoming a guardian for her, we got 2 therapy classes, one individually for Jane and one for the family of how to adjust. We spent 2 years in each. Professor Plum did it says, Jane is an adult and deserves the respect of being told information that regards her to allow her to make her own decisions. I get that you want to protect her from more pain, but a large part of the trauma that she experienced was due to being powerless and having no control or choice over her own life. Her mother started this entire mess by withholding information. Jane needs you to not hide things from her or make choices for her. She needs to know that you will always be completely honest with her and allow her to make choices for herself. Agree with this. Let her know that you're not telling her to hurt her or open old wounds or encourage her one way or another. Let her know that you are telling her because you love her and respect her, and you want to give her the opportunity to ask for advice and make her own decision. Be open and honest and let her make the decision. Tell her that you'll support her no matter what, but make sure to tell her and let her make that decision. And now, on to the update. So a lot of you told me that I should come clean to Jane, so I did just that. I sat her down after work the day after I posted, and we had a long talk. When I said that Steve had messaged her, Jane got furious and demanded to see the message. She wanted to spill her guts out to him. I tried calming her down and she started crying. She said she still thought of him as a dad when the news came out and was scared that he would get rid of her, that she began having a hard time trusting people because of what happened. She hugged me and kissed me on the neck a lot, and I told her that if she wants to respond to the message, she can tell me. She said she would think about it. Some days pass by, and Jane tells me that she has what she wanted to say on paper. I took her sheet and went to Steve's contact and typed, "Hello, Steve. Jane has decided to write you a message herself and send it to you. I have attached it below, so keep in mind that I am not controlling what she says, and I won't force her into anything she doesn't want to do." I then attached a picture of the letter that Jane wrote. The letter was basically her explaining in detail everything she feels, and she wants nothing to do with him anymore because she isn't his daughter anymore. I closed the chat with Steve, so I don't know if he read it, but I hope he did. I think this should be the last update. I did see one rule in this subreddit that only one update is allowed. If anything else major happens, I'll post it somewhere else. Maybe you could check my profile, but I don't think it'll go further than this. Jane, me, and our family spent the night together. Some people asked me to elaborate on the specifics of how Jane got shuffled into my house in the first place, so I'll explain in some detail. I don't know the full story of Steve's divorce, but I do know that he relinquished all parental rights to Jane. The part where he said he's removing his name from the birth certificate was an obscenity he yelled during the conversation, but it was actually never removed. When the bio mum became abusive, a neighbor called the cops one night and Jane was placed into foster care. The 23andMe test she took was evidence on how to find me, and Jane was actually the one who suggested finding me so she could at least know who I was. This is all information that I got from people who brought Jane here, so sorry if it appears off. I did ask some more questions about how I was found, but they couldn't fully reveal. So that's all that happened. Thanks everyone who gave advice. In the comments, Forsaken Ad 9599 says, "Just so you know, you can post on your user thread if there is any update coming. It's also a good way to keep the text when a post happens to break a rule and get removed. I think Steve is going to try again, possibly in the summer, most likely in later years. Guilt is a powerful feeling sometimes. It's not easily gone. It'll push him again into reaching her." OP says, "Thank you for suggesting the user thread to post, but Steve reached out to me via social media. I don't want to share specifics, and I closed the chat that he used to message me, so it's unlikely that he can find out any more information because we were both limited to one message until I accepted his friend request, which I didn't do." You know what, it's not particularly a happy ending for this one, but I think it's a very much realistic ending, and if Jane doesn't want contact, I respect that absolutely, because I don't really know how you can come back from that. How can you recover from someone attacking you and disowning you for something that's not even your own fault? I don't blame Jane for keeping contact, and I don't blame her for not reaching out. It's just a tough situation all around. Thank God OP is there to save the day and, keep some semblance of peace. You, my friend, are an angel. Our next post is by user Frickin' Ruined, titled, "I ruined my life for a threesome." My wife Letty and I used to have an amazing relationship. We met each other 8 years ago, married 4 years ago, and we used to have a great marriage. We had our ups and downs, but we always solved any issue and never let a day pass before amending things between us. We were happy. Then last year, we started to be more adventurous in the bedroom. After an event in our family, Letty decided to let go of her shyness and live every single thing that she could think. And that ended up in her becoming creative in the bedroom. We tried everything that caught our attention. If we saw something on TV or read about it, we tried it. We had so much fun together. After trying something that she was very cautious to try, she let me choose something to do. She told me to choose something that you ever wanted but never had the chance. I stupidly told her that I always wondered how it would be with 2 girls. She agreed and started to plan a threesome, and I still regret that moment. We ended up choosing a girl that we know, Abby, a friend from her job. She's the type of girl that believes in energies, crystals, vibes, etc. She's a free-spirited girl and she's nice to hang around. We told her, and she ended up accepting. We chose her because we knew that it was very probable that she would accept, but we also chose her because she physically is very different from my wife. While she is small, with pale skin, short hair, and a little butt and breasts, I'm not saying that she's ugly, she is very cute. My wife has tan skin, long beautiful hair, and a great body. The idea was that, this way, there would not be insecurities about me comparing them, or that I would prefer her. So we said it, and she came to our place, and we spent the night together. And I regret it. Even if those hours were great at the moment, I would do anything to get back to that night and stop everything. The following days, everything was great. Letty was happy that I liked it, and Abby kept it private, so it was like another perfect adventure for us. Then after a few days, Letty started to become distant, sleeping at the other side of the bed, not wanting me to kiss or hug her, not even cuddling. At first, she said that it was because she was tired, but after insisting, she told me that it was due to the threesome. She told me that, even if she had fun that night, now she was feeling awful, cheated, and used. The image of me making love to another woman was burned in her mind. She wasn't comfortable with me being near her. We tried talking about it and even got into counseling. I tried everything to make sure that I only love her, that it was just a fantasy that could never happen again, and then Abby called me. Her period was delayed and believed that she could be pregnant. That killed my marriage. My wife moved out from our house and had asked for a divorce. She said that she can't bear to be near me. Knowing that another woman is pregnant with my child is too much for her. She can't even see me. No matter what I do or say, For her, it's over. Meanwhile, Abby took a test and she was indeed pregnant. I still don't know how it happened. I used protection all the time, even checked it after using it, and still she's pregnant. Abby is 100% sure that the baby is mine. She says that before me, she hadn't done it with anyone else in months, and she is so sure about it that she offered to take a DNA test when the baby is born, just to clear up any doubts. I feel like I screwed up my entire life. Letty is the love of my life, and she doesn't want to see me. Abby is not a bad friend at all, but she's the type of person you can only take in small doses. And now I am bound to her forever. She wants to keep the baby, and wants me to be a part of the baby's life. Sometimes I just want to disappear, end things. I'm desperate, my life is falling apart for that stupid mistake, and I don't know what to do. Edit. Thank you for all the comments. There are so many, so I thought that it would be better to answer here, just to make clear some things that most of you are pointing out. 1. I used a condom. We did it more than once that night, and every single time I used a condom. I bought them, I checked them after finishing, and I disposed of them, and I finished outside. 2. The threesome wasn't something that we did in a rush. We took our time planning it, talked a lot, and confirmed multiple times if we were really sure, and all the time we both were on it. 3. We didn't jump straight into adding a third. A long time before that, we started experimenting, playing, and being kinky. This was just another thing to try. No one was pressured into it. On the moment I just said it because I couldn't think of anything else. I was surprised when she said that we could try it. 4. Abortion is not an option here. Abby wants the baby. 5. As many of you have seen, English isn't my first language. Sorry for spelling errors. 6. I talked with Abby, and she is more than willing to take a DNA test. In the comments, Bob Barker Forever says, Abby can do a blood test now to confirm your paternity. You don't have to wait until after the child is born. Abby is kind of an idiot for wanting him to be a part of the kid's life. She accidentally conceived during a threesome with a married couple. Like, be effing for real, girl. That poor kid's gonna be confused when they learn how they were conceived. Well, the good thing is, well, yeah, at least. But if you considered that, on the bright side, there's it's nothing good here. Threesomes is something you only do when you're single. The amount of cases I've seen here daily, like yours, is insane. Threesomes inside relationships always lead to breaking up. And they did it with one of her co-workers. You never do that shit with people that you work with. Also, he acted like she wasn't attractive, but his description of her made her sound very attractive. And now, onto the updates. Hello. Some had sent me messages asking for an update, and I think I can give one. Abby and I took the test, and I'm the father. She is open to doing another test after the baby is born, if I want to be sure. But as things seem to be, it is my baby. At first, I took it in the worst way possible. I kept torturing myself for being such an idiot, and reading some of the comments made me realize that I am the biggest stupid idiot for asking my wife to add another girl to our bedroom. Abby and I talked after the test. She is keeping the baby, she wants to be a mum, and she wants me to be a father for the baby. She told me that she didn't expect me to start living with her and get married, just to take charge of the responsibilities that will come with the baby, and to get along with and be good friends for the baby. She had apologies for how things had developed, saying that she never wanted to hurt me or Letty, her intention was just to have fun, but that she's grateful and excited for the baby. She and I are on quote-unquote good terms now. I'm still not totally comfortable with her, and she's saying that if I can't save my marriage and end up divorcing my wife, she wouldn't mind having fun with me again. Makes me doubt about her real intentions. On the other side, my wife hasn't started the divorce yet. She moved back and we've talked. At first, she was so angry at me, and I let her do and say all that she needed, every insult and name, I earned it. And then she got very sad. We cried together as she told me that she still loves me. She said that she can't live without me, but can't live with me either after what happened. The threesome's not the problem anymore. Now it's about me having a baby with Abby. It's hard, we both are confused and scared and still don't know if we'll get over this. But the thing that has me even more confused is that recently, my wife's libido has grown. For moments she asked for intimacy, and right after she wants space. She wants to be kinky and do the things that we used to try, to play, then right after she goes to another room. I've asked her and she says she doesn't know why she does it, she just feels like she needs to do it. She is still insecure about us, about what we are, where we are, and divorce is still on the table, so we're stuck. I would like to know what to do, but I don't know what's the right thing or how to solve this. I know that I'll have to be responsible for the baby, but I want to save my marriage too. In the comments, Bitter Animator 2514 says, I'd be very careful and cautious with Abby with those comments. I hope that Letty and you are healing. OP says, that's what I'm thinking. I don't fully trust her. Cut her off, except that you need to pay child support, but otherwise distance yourself as much as possible, otherwise this will tank any chance of you staying married. I'm not jumping to Abby baby-trapped you, but her behavior is now throwing major red flags. Talk to a lawyer, get custody plans drawn up and ready to go, get another test at birth, and then put those plans into action. As to what the plans should be, that's up to you and your wife. Whatever they are, they should keep your wife and Abby far, far apart. I suspect Abby may attempt to sabotage your marriage to free you up for fun and dad time. OP says, thanks, I'm looking into it. If I may, you should move away with your wife. Adding a baby that's not hers and forcing her to constantly see the reminder of your actions is going to destroy whatever is left of your marriage. Provide child support, but keep your distance. Demand Abby only communicates with you through a lawyer. She clearly has no good intentions. I don't understand people, man. I swear to God I don't. You have a wife, someone who's there for an active sex life. Why the hell would you think a threesome is such a good idea? Let alone include someone you're married to and tell them to have a threesome. Are y'all that sexually uncontrollable? Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, my friend. Time to think before your actions. We are humans and we make mistakes, but there's a line which you shouldn't cross. You crossed it, got your marriage effed up, made a random woman pregnant who wants to keep the baby. What else would you need in life, right? I'm sorry, but if you're unable to maintain a private, intimate relationship with someone and want so much more in sexual fantasy, you're better off being single and doing your shit without including a loved one. Bro used condoms and such and kept changing condoms. How did she get pregnant? Now, if the DNA is yours, it's yours, but if you guys planned it all good and properly, I don't see in any of your messages anywhere of you actually looking, searching, and trying to find out how or when she got pregnant. Where did you throw the condoms? Where were you guys after the threesome? Where was she after the threesome? Where did this threesome take place? Did all of you stay over? Did you just throw the condoms in a bin, or did you wash and flush them? Yeah, I'm gonna hear about don't flush, blah blah blah. Yeah, I don't care about that at this point. I want answers. The fact that she just freaking out of nowhere wants the baby, wants you to be a part of it, wants you to be active and etc. Buddy, I don't know what to tell you, but she's not exactly looking for friendship. This chick has actively been interested in you, and she's doing everything to replace your wife, subtly. If she can't have you, she doesn't mind having to share you with said wife, but she definitely wants to keep you close. Let me ask you another question. During the threesome, how active or interested was she in your wife? How much time did she invest in her? How much more did she do? It's also great that you used condoms and whatnot, but if you used condoms only on her, but you did end up busting in your wife, chances are them scissoring could have caused it, and a lot of other fun stuff there. That is another way of having it happen. I'm just throwing out some things out there. I'm sorry if I'm being graphic or whatever. I'm just curious and also questioning why you or no one has actually wondered or questioned how it's possible she got pregnant. OP says, we used condoms every time. One of the doctors told me that it's very rare, but condoms can fail. It needs a little, even microscopical hole that is unnoticed and a lot of bad luck. But it's possible. I threw out the used condoms in that room's trash bin. It would be impossible for her to take them without us noticing. It happened in our room, and we stayed a little in the bed after we were done. After that, we got dressed and went to the kitchen for coffee, and after that, she left. I don't know what her real intentions are, but I'm definitely not going to go be with her. I'll take charge of my responsibilities as a father, but just that. There wasn't many interactions between them, it was more focused on me. The only things they did was when I asked them to kiss, and when I was doing it with my wife, Abby was touching her body. Besides that, they barely interacted between them. My friend, 30s male, just got married, but I, 28 female, did not attend because my crazy ex/stalker boyfriend was going to attend. But I didn't send in an official RSVP. So I received the online save the date and of course replied yes. Then I was scrolling through the guest book and saw my ex's name. When I saw his enthusiastic reply of yes, my heart figuratively stopped. I felt cold inside and I started hyperventilating. Here's some information on my ex. This man abused me for months. He isolated me from my friends and family, used me for money and sex, and then cheated on me. He made me feel crazy for confronting him about his drug use, about the girls hanging around him, and I had just eventually stopped asking him because I wanted to keep him happy. When he moved away for a few months and we were long distance, he had friends that would report back to him if I went out with friends. He would confront me on our Skype chats about me being out with guy friends, unchaperoned, and would forbid me to go out without a chaperone. I eventually caved and didn't go out with any of my friends unless they were the girls that he knew, or I just stayed home. I lost contact with many friends and my family, but then we were engaged, and something broke within me when I realized I would have to give up everything to be with him, and I envisioned myself either dead or wanting to be dead when I saw our future together. When I finally broke it off for good with him, he had previously installed a keylogger into my phone and computer, is that the official term? And was able to see everything I sent and did. He threatened to off himself if I didn't talk to him, so I said, go right ahead, and notified his mum that he was making threats against his life. I told her that if he contacted me again, I was going to go to the cops. She said she would take care of it. A few nights later, I went to a late-night movie by myself, and I got a call saying that he was right outside my apartment. He saw my light on and just wanted to talk. I was not there at the time, and he had a history of stalking and previous allegations of abusing his ex-girlfriends. The next day, I started the proceedings to get a restraining order out on him. Fun fact, they are really hard to get, and the order of protection was granted for 1 year, and I had moved on. I got a new laptop, phone, and changed my address. He was blocked on Facebook, and I deleted all of our mutual Facebook friends so they couldn't report back to him on me. Back to current day, seeing him RSVP to a mutual friend's wedding threw me off kilter. My current boyfriend was unable to attend with me, as he had to be at work, so I didn't want to go alone. I meant to email the groom and explain how I didn't want my drama to overshadow his wedding, and that he may not have been aware of the crazy ex-drama that happened a couple of years ago, but I saved it as a draft and never dealt with it. I pushed it to the back of my mind and was focusing on work and school. But I got the email reminding me about the wedding, and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't show up. I sent the newly married couple an Amazon package from their wedding registry with my apologies and offers to take them out to dinner after their honeymoon, but I don't know how to ask him now. Question: how do I bring this up to the groom? How do I explain why I didn't reply and why I didn't show up? Do I just go into detail about the horrible things my ex did? Do I show them a copy of the restraining order? Do I just continue to ignore and later message the groom to just take them out for dinner? In the comments, on her friendship with the groom, OP says, technically the ex was friends with the groom before I met him. They were church buddies when they were young, but my ex moved away when he was a teenager, and I met the groom in college. His sister and I were in choir together in high school. My hometown is small, and we bonded over the love of rock music. So time-wise, ex knew him longer, but I think I know him better as an adult. I did decrease my contact with the groom after the breakup because I did think the same thing. How could he be friends with such a monster? I cut contact with all the people who were friends with the ex because I didn't know if they would report back to the ex. But I would still go to his rock shows and occasionally text him until he got really serious with his now wife, and then we sort of just followed each other on Facebook. If I tell the groom about what happened to me, would it decrease my chances of seeing the ex again? I don't ever want to see the ex again in this lifetime or the next. Part of me was hoping that he was dead or in jail. How do I stop trying to please everyone? It's a personal issue that I've worked on after this whole debacle, but it's this whole obedient daughter mindset that I grew up with that I'm rewarded eventually for bending over backwards to please everyone around me. On why the groom didn't know about the abuse and how her ex got away without anyone knowing, OP says, "He didn't know about the abuse. I just told him that it was an ugly breakup, and he said that he was sorry the ex and I were no longer together because we made such a good couple. I was such a good influence on him, etc. My ex is very good at manipulating people. The man has a high school degree but is a whiz at technology things. He was a part of the anonymous group that hacked into things and was very schmoozy when in groups. He had that way of talking to people that made him very popular. He's a horrible person, but his dad abused his mum growing up, so I guess it was part of him. It made it normal to him to abuse me and all of his other girlfriends." Beers and Bears says, "If they're still on their honeymoon, just leave it alone for now. Give it a week or two after they come back and see if they respond to your messages and apologies. If not, reach out, say that you'd like to explain, apologize, and take them out to dinner, etc. I don't think you necessarily need to go into detail. If they're your friends, there's a good chance they'll take you at your word. For what it's worth, we had very good friends who bailed on our wedding last minute, and we're still friends with them. Life goes on." OP says, "My parents, small town, just saw them at the store. Does this mean that they're taking a local honeymoon? Do the 2 weeks still apply? Thanks. I'm glad that life goes on. I'm just sort of embarrassed that I didn't address this issue head on." If it were me personally in this situation, I think the 2 weeks would still apply, but it really depends person to person. Just let them have their nice honeymoon, let that grace period kind of settle, and then come to them with an apology and an explanation if it's at all necessary, but I feel like it is necessary in this instance. Perhaps they took a really short honeymoon, or it is just a local honeymoon. You know, we love saving money in this economy. I can see why OP would be embarrassed to not address the situation head on, but it's not like it's something that's easy to talk about, especially if everyone has this grand perception of him and you're unsure whether those people will believe you or not. I think in this instance, honesty is the best policy, and I really do think they will understand where you're coming from and why you didn't come to the wedding. You don't want a repeat of all of that trauma all over again. And you also don't want to start shit at their wedding and potentially ruin the day for them, like he very much well could have. And also, just one small thing that I picked up on, he has a high school degree but is a whiz at technology things. He was a part of the anonymous group? No, he wasn't. He was not a part of Anonymous. I'm sure he's very good at manipulating people, that's for sure, but he's manipulated you to believe that he was part of Anonymous. Bro would be in jail right now if that was the truth. There is no universe I believe that. And now, onto the update. Thank you to all that gave me solid advice and nice PMs. You're all very nice and I appreciate you all. Special thanks to user Yes I Left His Ass 2398 for the amazing advice, and I've saved her or his comments. So I took the advice of some to call my friend rather than send an impersonal email or Facebook message, and I left a nice voicemail offering to take him and his wife to dinner and apologizing for missing their wedding. He called back and squeezed me into their packed schedule before they leave for their honeymoon. I saw them last night for dinner. I gave them hugs and apologized again for missing their wedding. The groom said he vaguely remembered the bad breakup and the restraining order, but said that he thought that enough time had passed because their order of protection had expired. He also said that they sent out invites and saved the dates in waves, and the ex and I were in different waves. He said he thought that we could put our differences aside for one day for his special day. He said he had invited family members that didn't get along with one another with the expectations that everyone could put aside their issues for his wedding. I told him that I didn't want to see the ex ever again, especially being alone at that wedding, and wasn't comfortable at all attending. My friend acknowledged this, and then we had a good dinner and caught up since our college days. They confirmed they had received many gifts the day after their wedding. Then they said the ex had RSVP'd and volunteered to be the sound guy, MC and sound system, but did not show up. My friend had to man the sound system on his own wedding day. The groom and bride said they would have rathered me show up than the ex. We've made plans for me to see their house when they return from their honeymoon and hang out more frequently. They have an incredible collection of board games. It was a great dinner. TLDR, I apologize to my friend and his wife for my absence on their wedding day. They have forgiven me, and we are still friends. Edits, I want to thank everyone for your comments and messages. Truly, it took me reading the comments and advice from internet strangers to realize what shitty friends I had. This was my throwaway account, so I was reading all of the comments on my regular account and being unable to reply. Replying on mobile would have been difficult. Again, thank you all. I plan on being very low contact to no contact with the groom and his wife. I do deserve better friends than that, and it took the comments and kindness of internet strangers to reveal this to me. Thank you all, and here's hoping karma gets the groom and my ex. In the comments, 2 Oranges says, OP, you have horrible friends. Anyone who remembers a restraining order and thinks that it's just water under the bridge, or who doesn't give you a heads up that that kind of person has been invited to their wedding, is not a friend. This is not a happy ending. What the hell? Why are you apologizing when he intentionally tried to put you in that situation? This wasn't an accident. He planned for you and your abusive ex to need to confront each other at his wedding. Seriously, these are not your friends and they are not good people. You'd be better off putting your time and energy into other relationships. These are horrible people. What would have happened if OP didn't see his name on the list? Were they going to warn her that he would be there? I doubt it. This is terrible. I'm so worked up right now over this. OP, apologize all you want for not attending, but they owe you an apology for putting you in this position in the first place. Deliberately. Quote, he said he thought that we could put our issues aside for one day for his special day. Fun fact, a lack of empathy is a trait of narcissism. Your friend sounds horrible, and I hope your wedding gift was a pair of khakis. He almost sounds like a groomzilla who expects everyone to act a certain way just because it's his special day. No wonder he's friends with that loser ex. Also, I won't be surprised if he leaks information about OP to this stalker like an overflowing valve. Maybe he'll even gladly give the stalker information about OP because he believes he can fix things between his friends. The groom has a terrible attitude and is bad news for OP's future safety. Once the groom said that he was aware of the restraining order, he became the asshole. And then the audacity to say that he hoped everyone would put their shit aside for just one day to celebrate them, like her life hadn't been threatened by this man for so long? Wow. Judging by the attitudes in this thread, it isn't until somebody's body hits the ground that abuse is serious enough to take a stand. I pity his bride. Oh, you had a restraining order, but that expired, so we figured that it was just water under the bridge. What the hell is wrong with people? She still didn't explain the stalking or the abuse. These kinds of posts frustrate me. Also, like a restraining order is a normal thing to have between friends. Everyone has one. Facepalm. What's the big deal? We thought you could deal with the threats of bodily harm and death from an absolute psycho for our special day. Maybe try being less selfish in the future. Oh my god. Yeah. How do you know about the restraining order and still be like, you know what, you kind of need to apologize for not coming. That was a bit of a dick move. And you know what, I would have preferred you there because once he found out that you weren't there, he didn't even come himself. It's like he didn't even care about the fact that it was my special day. Why won't you guys see eye to eye on this? I'm the real victim here. Though I can definitely see how in that moment you'd be like, oh yeah, you knew about the restraining order, but yeah, I guess we could have just put our differences aside, but I just didn't want to be there. How you wouldn't put 2 and 2 together and be like, holy shit, you're trying to get me killed. He's gonna take the knife for the wedding cake and just stab me, isn't he? Oh my god. Thank God those people's masks slipped as well, OP. They are psychopaths just as much as your ex. What in God's name? Our next post is by user AlarmedBed6196, titled, Husband is stealing my Adderall. Since about June 2023, I've been having my pills become mysteriously missing out of my bottle. I've been anywhere from 10 or less short each month. I am prescribed 30 and 10 milligram pills of Adderall a day. I couldn't figure out what was happening and didn't think that my husband would do that, but it consistently happened to me every month. 4 months ago, I confronted my pharmacy and said that they must be shorting me, and the pharmacist said the amount is signed off and verified by 2 pharmacists, including himself, the manager, before officially dispensing it into the jar. He said that I'd strongly suggest you look into someone in your home who was taking it from you. I thought he was wrong, but after that, I started having them count in front of me at the pharmacy before I left the store. Each time, it was 30 pills in each bottle, and yet again, I'd bring it home and be shorted as quick as the next day when I recounted. Last month, I decided to hide them in a different spot each day. Surprisingly, last month was the only month they were not taken. Yesterday, I came home, and my husband knew that I'd just picked them up, and I stupidly left them on the kitchen table and took a nap. He was downstairs where the pills were while I was napping. I verified the amount with the pharmacist prior to leaving the store, so I knew that I had the correct amount. When I woke up, I realized they were left out and brought them upstairs and hid them. I had not recounted them until this morning, and not to my surprise, there were already 3 pills missing. I confronted him for the first time and he said, "Oh, you must have dropped them on the floor somehow." I said I did not. I had them closed on the kitchen table while I was napping. I said, "I know you're taking them." Then explained to him how I've been counting them for months, and this pattern of missing pills now only leads me to him. He shrugged and said he didn't, but no real argument back because I feel like he knows he's been caught and can't put up a defense case against it. My suspicion has also grown because last week we were on vacation and he had a few glasses of wine and asked me if I would give him a pill. I said no and told him that I needed them. Side note, I'm in nursing school and need the pills more than ever to focus. Without the pills, I have no focus and am extremely tired and unmotivated. He knows how in need of them I am, and I feel so violated. Prior history. He used to do ecstasy when we first met 13 years ago. He was doing it behind my back for years, even after we had a child, and I honestly didn't even know. He would lock himself in another room and stay up all night and wouldn't sleep with me. He admitted the addiction and lies to me a few years ago. So there's that in terms of prior stimulant addictions. What should I do? I just went into the bedroom, kneeled on the floor sobbing and staring blankly at the walls in utter astonishment that this is happening to me. Now I'm here writing to you folks for advice. If you read this all, thank you for hearing me out. I know it was quite long. In the comments, you have a disability, but he's willing to forget that and make your education suffer so that he can meet his own needs. Imagine if you were blind, but he stole your cane a couple of days a week. Sure, you could get around generally by running your hands along the wall, but he's willing to watch you suffer while he plays around with your cane. 1/3 of your pills means that in the last 6 months, he has left you without medication for a full 2 months. Even more alarming, you're going to be a nurse. If you make errors in patient care because you could not be attentive, you may accidentally harm or kill someone. He's not only risking your education and career, his actions will likely put patients in very real danger. I agree with everyone else. Look after yourself, which means locking up your meds so you can access them when you need them, and demand that he seeks addiction treatment. Do not take no for an answer. OP's response was, "That was so well said. I am saving your comment. Thank you so much for your reply." OP, aside from the many great responses you've received, you should also know that Adderall for normal people's brains is basically wank time. There is a porn stash that he's been using with your pills, most likely. OP replies, "Wow, that makes so much sense. He doesn't sleep in bed with me either. He has had an issue with that stuff in the past when he was doing drugs behind my back. I bet that he's doing that again." I thought this was odd too. Unless he's gaming and interacting with people online after taking it. I wouldn't see ecstasy as a stimulant in the same way as other drugs like speed or cocaine though. I think it's actually classed as a psychedelic, and I'm not sure it's addictive, or that you'd look for stimulants to replace it. OP says, "I'm the OP and knew that he had a porn addiction back then. I was thinking he took the X and then would interact with virtual reality porn girls alone in the room was my thoughts when he confessed." I agree with other peeps posting, you are underreacting to this. He's playing it off as no big thing. It's not him, it must be you. That is a huge, massive, fluorescent red flag. He's using your ADHD against you because it's convenient, and he sees you as easily manipulated. He was also previously addicted to ecstasy. Several things. 1. Your husband needs to understand that there is a stimulant shortage and your medication count is tightly controlled. By taking your pills, he is saying that his pleasure is more important than your day-to-day functioning. 2. The lying and stealing is concerning behavior of the sort displayed by addicts and people with personality disorders. This isn't a safe situation for either of you, and he needs to get professional help. And 3. In the meantime, get a secure lockbox for your medication. Number 1 is such a huge fact. The medication aside, someone who believes that their entitlement is more important than your well-being and safety is a dangerous person. I am saying this as passionately as I can as someone who had to escape abuse from a dangerously abusive man that believed that he was more entitled to unleash his rage against my body and endanger my life than he believed I deserved safety and respect. Addictions make nothing seem more important than the next high, which can lead to usually kind and empathetic people doing terrible things. It's not a rational decision because addiction isn't rational. It says very little about his beliefs, but that absolutely does not mean that you should put up with this. It's understandable if this behavior crossed a line that you can never get back from, no matter why it occurred, and you're absolutely not wrong in leaving him for this. And now, onto the updates. After all your responses, I ended up going through his things and found out that you were all right. I found something else that I never thought he would do, but now explains everything perfectly, and you all called it. He now had to admit to it. I told him to go get help and that I could file a report against him, as well as all the lies and distrust he has now broken. He broke down crying and pulled out the depression card. Of course, you're depressed, you're lying, stealing. Of course you're depressed. You're lying, stealing, and doing drugs. Who knows what else he's doing? I currently have not spoken to him since confronting him this afternoon. I'm reading your messages on how to act and progress on my issue. It's not an easy leave as I have no parents or family, nor a job. I am a full-time nursing student. Thank you again. In the comments, Lost Raven Blue says, I would never be able to trust my spouse again. Oof. Nope. I take 10 milligrams of Ritalin and it's enough so I can do the dishes, finish my laundry, have enough executive function to do basic tasks. I can't imagine how betrayed I'd feel if someone I loved was stealing the pills that allowed me to function like a person so that they could jerk off. That's the thing, right? It's not about the Adderall. It's the lack of trust, the disrespect, the lack of empathy and compassion, the selfishness, the blatant lying to OP's face, the denial of addictions, and the complete disregard for OP in general. And there's a child involved, which makes this a lot worse in my opinion. I doubt the Adderall is his only drug he's currently taking, and if it is, it won't be for long. OP's script quantity is small in comparison to some. He's definitely going to want more as the 10 milligrams doesn't feel as good anymore, but she only has 30 for a month, which honestly isn't much. He's going to increase the amount he's taking over time until it's not enough, so he'll eventually find something else to fill the void. It's time for OP to divorce her husband. She has lived with a liar with no concern for her well-being her entire marriage. Investing time and money in therapy is, in this case, prolonging the inevitable. A friend stole my Adderall. Another friend would ask for some because, fun! My mother, after accusing me of drug abuse because she decided that I was too thin, wanted some because she figured that she could maybe lose some weight too. And so I lost my shit on them. They don't get to denigrate me and my diagnosis, because they did, only to do an about face and suddenly decide that Adderall is suddenly acceptable because of the potential for a good time. This is not a package of Jolly Ranchers to be handed out willy-nilly. I have a diagnosis, I go to a psychiatrist for treatment, and a regular monthly prescription that needs to be provided to the pharmacy. Both cost money and take time. Without medication, my quality of life suffers. But somehow it's okay to reduce that to a vodka chaser and appetite suppressant? F the F off. Well, this post really chapped my ass. It's really not that hard to be a decent person. Just don't be a dick and steal people's meds, or downplay their importance in a person's life. Am I the asshole here for not offering to pay for my husband and his kids, leading him to spend all his savings? For a while now, my husband John has been getting more and more angry over little things and generally moody and distant. I finally had enough and approached him about separation. This conversation led to a big blowout and him revealing the state of his finances. My husband and I have always kept our finances separate. Also, although we call each other husband and wife and had a wedding, we're not actually legally married. This was primarily for inheritance purposes because we have older children from previous relationships. Anyways, John revealed that he had basically no savings left, that all the money he had saved for retirement and for his kids' schooling was gone. Furthermore, he said that it was all my fault since he used all his savings to try and keep up with my lifestyle. There was never anything crazy in terms of bills or anything like that, and we always split it all equally. The house we live in, I own outright, so there wasn't a mortgage payment. However, I've always liked to travel on a lot of fairly extravagant vacations. I would invite John or John and his children to join on trips, but never made them feel like they had to come. That said, he was expected to pay for himself and for his kids. Except for recently, he accepted every invitation. I would also give my kids things he considered extravagant, but I considered normal. So he felt like he had to give similar things to his own kids. John said with all the spending to keep up, his savings dwindled very fast. I expressed that I couldn't understand how or why he would spend all he had when he knew that he couldn't afford it. He said it was like he was keeping up with the Joneses, only worse because it was at home, so he couldn't block it out. John thinks that since I knew his job, I should have had a basic understanding of his finances and realized this wasn't a lifestyle he could maintain, that the kind thing would have been to offer to pay for the trips and other things instead of dangle them in front of him and his kids' faces. Looking back, I probably could have realized that this spending didn't make sense for his salary, but I wasn't thinking about it. I don't think it was my responsibility to keep his finances in mind here. We had agreed from the beginning to keep our finances separate, so to me, that means paying for things separately. Edit, we do not live in a state with common law marriage. Why not get married? You know you can make children beneficiaries in wills, right? OP says, here, spouses are included in inheritance even if they're omitted from wills, and I plan on leaving everything to my kids. Ages. I'm 44, he's 53, we don't have any children together. So you didn't discuss trips that you could afford together? OP says, we did discuss the trips and I asked for input about where to stay and what we would do, but he never gave any, nor had any suggestions. I always just assumed he didn't like planning things. I would have likely still gone on the trips if he didn't want to. So if he said no, you would just go on the trip on your own? OP says, yes, I would likely have still gone on the trip. That said, I would have been open to less expensive trips had he brought it up. Except for the past 2 trips, he never declined. I didn't go alone though. I went on one with some friends and the other with my daughter. In the comments, everyone sucks here. John should have ended your marriage way earlier. He can't keep up with your lifestyle, and it would be horrible and very unfair to subject his children to a life where half of his family goes on fancy vacations regularly and the other stays home. He should have been honest way earlier before his savings drained and ended the marriage. You should have more awareness of your partner's struggles. How do you share a life with someone and you don't realize these things? OP says, he paid for things without any hint that he was struggling. I assume his attitude change was when things started to get really bad, and I did ask what was wrong, but he would just say that things were fine, or say he was upset about some little thing like the dishes not being put away. Before you were together, how often were you taking trips with your kids? OP says, I've always done about the same amount of trips every year, usually 2 with my kids. His kids mostly live with their mum, and mine will split time between me and their dad pretty equally. My eldest is in college now though. I have a burning question. Did you ever ask him why he was acting that way before you decided that it was time for separation? Because from the outside, you come off as the female stereotype that men don't have emotions, so there's no need to check. OP said, I did. He would always say that it was fine, or I would ask what's wrong, and he would get mad about the dishes not being put away or some other little thing. If you enjoy having him with you, maybe you could pay for him to go. OP says, if things were better, I might consider it, but at this point, I'm really not enjoying being around him anymore. I'm going to use this break to take some time to reevaluate things. It sounds like you don't love him at all. Why were you with him? Were you really together or just roommates with benefits? Why wouldn't you leave him anything in the will? How do you split daily life? OP says, with how things are now, it's hard to talk in present tense. I loved him. For me, it just feels like it would be wrong for my money and assets to go to anyone other than my kids, given, for him, well, I don't really need any inheritance, so it just makes the most sense for it to have gone to his children. For restaurants, we've always just taken turns paying. It's hard because I really feel like this is a situation where there's missing reasons. The way that OP frames it, I really just want to say it's completely on him for not sharing that he was struggling with his wife, who's not actually his wife, it's just his pretend wife. I don't understand how someone can be 53 and so dense as to put themselves close to bankruptcy. And that's why I think there's missing reasons. I feel like OP's answering all these questions, but I'm still not getting as to what she did so that he felt he couldn't open up to her about that. Because I find it hard to believe that a 53-year-old at kids will just willingly dump all his money into her like that and sink his own ship. And not dump all his money into her, just to keep up with the Joneses. It's just so stupid. And now, onto the updates. After reading all the comments on my first post, I realized I needed more time to think about things. I also thought with the situation how it was, it would be best that we spend the holidays apart to avoid any controversy. He wasn't a fan of the idea, but I eventually got him to agree to go. Last week, things settled down, so we met up to have a more detailed discussion about the state of his finances. A few more things were revealed. I found out that he had lost his job earlier this year and didn't tell me. He got a new job in October, but he went over 4 months without one while pretending that he still had one. During that time, he only got a small amount of money from unemployment, so he started putting everything on his credit cards. His new job doesn't pay as much as his old one, so he hasn't been able to pay more than the minimum towards his debts, which are now substantial. I feel like if he had just brought up all these issues earlier, this could have been avoided, or we could have had something worked out. Now I really just feel like I can't trust him. I can't trust him with money, and I can't trust him not to hide things from me. I just can't see going back and trying to make things work with him at this point. Since he doesn't have a place to take all their things, I've agreed to store their stuff in my garage until he gets more settled. Which means I won't be able to make as clean of a break as I would like right now, but for the most part, it's over. In the comments, Mountain Girl 60 says, I totally get how you're feeling. All I had to do was be honest with you and, well, yes, I get you're looking back and thinking, gosh, I guess I should have been able to figure out that if he made less, he probably really couldn't afford some of the trips. But as an adult, he literally could have just said that and told you to go ahead and have a good time. And then he would go on the next one with you. And then, to not even tell you, he lost his job and went for 4 months without one? All of this points to him having a pretty fragile ego. And that is not your problem, although at the end, he sure was trying to make it your problem. Suggestion: I might, if you can afford it, I would literally pay for a storage unit for 6 months and have them move all of their stuff there. Prepay it for him and let him know that you have 6 months. That is more than enough time to find a place and get settled. And if he needs to go through things and get rid of some things so that they'll fit into his new place, it gives him time to do that as well. That way, you are still helping, but it doesn't involve continued contact of any kind because you're storing their stuff. It's a one-and-done sort of thing. Storage unit is the way to go. Do you really want him coming by every other day because he needs something? From your description, it sounds like he may start trying to guilt you into assuming some responsibility for his poor choices. Make a clean cut. That was exactly my thought. It is exactly what I did when my ex left. He left all of his stuff, apparently thinking I was going to keep it in the house or store it, and that was a definite no. So I told him I put it in storage, and if I recall, I think I paid for either 3 or 6 months and told him that it was up to him after that. Quotes, I found out that he had lost his job earlier and didn't tell me. I will never understand this logic. This is an immediate relationship killer, as it should be. I would never be able to trust a partner who goes this route. Someone else commented, and I agree. If you can afford it, I'd put their belongings in a storage unit. That way, he doesn't get complacent, and your garage isn't full of junk. Sometimes I watch a sitcom and think of how dumb the conflict is because a 5-minute conversation can clear the air and make everything right. Then I read posts like this and realize some people would rather be miserable than communicate. My ex-husband would volunteer to handle the bills and other household things and then not pay them and not do them and hide it from me. We had the money, so it wasn't that. I never got an explanation out of him, even after the divorce. My dad would bring home his paycheck, back when it was still paper, and forget to tell my mum that he'd been paid. We were struggling and she would be doing laundry, and boom, there's a paycheck for $1,200 just crumbled up in his pocket, so she'd go and deposit it, pay the bills, and he'd get mad for some reason. I don't know if he thought that we were doing okay or he deluded himself into that, but my mum was always exasperated with him until when we finally got direct deposit and she was put on the account. I never understood that. This sounds like something my very ADHD father-in-law would have done. He's now in his mid-70s. Say he was being responsible, and then do every step until the very last one. Okay, I don't think there's missing reasons anymore. I think those reasons are, he is lacking a brain. He is lacking a spine. He is lacking a proper ego. Holy shit, it makes sense now. If other people do this as well, like the crumpled up note there, you would just set yourself on fire so that you could look as hot and as bright as everyone else around you. Way to go to this man for not having a retirement and possibly also losing the respect of his family and everyone around him in the meantime. But at least for a few minutes there, he looked good. That's all that matters, right? Our next post is by user ThrowRA Holding Hands, titled, My 40 male, wife 36, was seen holding hands with another man. So my wife and I have been together for 5 years and got married last year. We definitely have our ups and downs, but we're generally happy. On Friday, she went out with people from her work for Christmas drinks and arrived home at around midnight, absolutely hammered. She just said that she'd had a good time and went straight to bed. Yesterday, I got a message on Instagram from an anonymous account claiming to be one of her colleagues saying that she'd been flirting all night with one of the guys from the office, 44 male, and they'd left together at about 9 to walk to the train station. The colleague had a couple more drinks and then went to the train station herself and says she saw my wife walking hand in hand with a guy through the station at about 10:45. They didn't see her. Last night, I showed her the message and asked her for an explanation. She claims she was so drunk she doesn't remember anything that happened after about 8 p.m. I asked if she went somewhere with the guy after they left the group, and she checked the location history on her phone, which confirmed that they had gone to a bar near the station for about an hour. They arrived at the station at 10:40. She gave me her phone and insisted that I check it, and there were no suspicious messages or anything. As far as I could tell, she doesn't have the guy's number in her phone, and they're not following each other on Instagram or friends on Facebook. I asked if she was flirting with him, and she admitted that she was talking mostly to him all night, but that's just because he's the only person in her office that she has anything in common with, and that they're just friends and it wasn't flirting. She mentioned this guy to me before and said how much they have in common. I asked if they were holding hands, and she said she doesn't remember, but she doesn't think so. She claims to know who sent the message and says that it's a woman in the office who hates her, although she doesn't know why. Today she's been in a terrible mood and we've not really spoken. So that's where we are. I'm not sure what to do. Is this as big a red flag as it seems to be? In the comments, okay but not okay says, there are a collection of issues here, but the terrible mood today seems a big one. The information you received is largely correct. It looks a bit fishy, and instead of reassurance, she's in retaliation mode, no doubt focusing on her office rival. She should be apologizing and doing what she can to defuse the situation. Getting so drunk that you can't recall, and focusing on a particular man and going off privately with him, I wonder what she would feel if this was something that you had done. Tell her to lose the attitude and figure out how she plans to sort this out. OP should really focus on this advice. She voluntarily gave up her phone for examination. Unless she had a second cell phone, chances are that she isn't having an affair. OP should check her car for it. If there is no affair, she should at least be attracted to him to get a point where she is holding hands with him. That, combined with the fact that she isn't going into crisis mode, but is generally just pissed at her colleague, points to the fact that she is a shitty partner. Not necessarily a cheater, but a very shitty partner nevertheless. Not having an affair doesn't mean she didn't fool around with a guy. Lots of people have sex or make out with someone and don't have a text trail they leave behind. First off, ask yourself what 36-year-old gets blackout drunk at an office party by 8 p.m. That's a very thin defense against some pretty hard evidence. Are you sure that the bar they went to isn't next to his apartment? Yes, this. Think about it. Who goes to a work party and gets blackout drunk in the first place? This just doesn't add up. I just had a huge holiday office party. I stayed till the end last year, and I can confirm that multiple people were absolutely smashed. I only stayed a bit this year, but the majority of people didn't show up to work the next day. Happened at my last job as well. People were falling down the stairs, they were so drunk. I work in a corporate setting too. It doesn't excuse cheating or flirting, but work parties always have those people that don't know when to stop drinking or boundaries. So she was too drunk to remember anything for 4 hours, yet was still capable of getting herself home? If nothing had happened, I feel like her answer would have been, "What? No, I didn't do that." Instead of, well, I don't remember. Yes, I was talking to him a lot. Yes, we went to a bar alone, but nothing happened. I don't remember anything, but I definitely remember that nothing happened. Somehow that woman's out to get me. Now I'm gonna sulk. And, oof, that's not the answer you want to hear. And now, on to the updates. Sam came home from work on Monday and casually said that she'd spoken with the guy, Tom, and he'd confirmed that they hadn't held hands. They'd just been walking arm in arm because she was drunk and wearing heels. I asked why her colleague Helen would make an Instagram account, track me down, and message me saying that they'd held hands if it wasn't true. She said Helen is basically in love with Tom and made a pass at him just after his divorce, but he rejected her. I asked why Helen would feel threatened by her. She said because her and Tom are friends and Helen's a crazy, jealous pachacho, as evidenced by the Instagram message. I asked why she went for a drink, just her and Tom. She said that according to Tom, they walked past the bar with an amazing live band playing, so they stopped in for a drink. Her only regret was doing too many shots too early and getting shit-faced. The next day she went shopping after work and came home with a new dress. I asked what the occasion was, and she said her work Christmas party. Last week was just drinks with people from her office. The company Christmas party is on Friday. Apparently she'd mentioned this. I hardly slept that night. The next day, I decided to reply to the Instagram message to get some more info. I asked, "Do you think anything's going on with them?" Helen, I assume, quickly replied with a long message saying that they flirt at work and everyone has noticed. Apparently Sam was going to be let go, but Tom put in a good word, so she kept her job. Tom protects her in the office and will constantly defend her. She also said that Sam bitches about me to the whole office, and it's clear that we don't have a happy marriage. I asked if she was going to go to the Christmas party, and she said she was. She said she'd update me if anything happened. Sam finished work early on Friday, so she'd have time to get ready. She looked amazing, and I really didn't want her to go, but I felt like I couldn't say anything. I got an Instagram message about midnight saying that Sam and Tom hadn't interacted at the party, but that people from the office had decided to leave and go to a different bar. They all left just before 11 and were at the new bar by 10 past. Sam and Tom turned up just before midnight. Sam arrived home at about 2 a.m., not quite as drunk as last time, and went straight to sleep. I pretended to be fast asleep. I looked at location history on her phone. After leaving the venue, she'd taken a 3-mile detour to a residential street, stayed for half an hour, and then gone to the bar. I sent the address to Helen, and she didn't reply until the next morning when she said that it was Tom's house. When Sam woke up, I just asked her straight out if she cheated on me with Tom last night. She angrily denied it. I told her that I knew she'd been to Tom's house. She accused me of spying on her, called me controlling, said she was going to stay with her sister. I demanded an explanation, and she said she went to his house so they could smoke a joint before heading to the bar. Then she stormed out. She wouldn't reply to my messages or answer my calls all day on Sunday. I called her sister, who said she hadn't seen her, but she texted me later that she'd spoken to Sam and she was okay. She came home yesterday morning. I asked where she'd been, and she just said she couldn't do this anymore and wants a divorce. She went to start packing some clothes while I tried to get her to talk to me. I asked if she was leaving me for Tom. She once again denied anything inappropriate had happened between them, but said my jealousy was the final straw. It's clear that I don't trust her. I'm controlling. I take her for granted. She's deeply unhappy and has been for a while. So she's gone. It looks like I'll be spending my first Christmas alone. I have no idea if she was telling the truth or if it was an affair, but weirdly, I'm not feeling too bad today. So maybe this is for the best. In the comments, Chris Lives in Alaska says, "She did the hard part for you. She is 100% full of shit. Best of luck to you this holiday season." I get the possibility of a jealous coworker making up a story to get someone in trouble like she claimed, but when your spouse brings that to your attention, you'd think that it'll be smart maybe not to go to the guy's house alone within a week. She knew the relationship was coming to an end, and she didn't care. Also, the not talking to each other at the party, but leaving and showing up together over an hour later is suspicious as far. Don't take her back when real life kicks back in. Change the locks immediately and contact a lawyer today. This OP, if you own the home that she left, then after 2 weeks, file a vacancy notification in her name. File for divorce today and have her served at work. If you live in a state where alienation of affection is, file for this also and have Tom served. Also, send her the information of her HR department that a supervisor is having an affair with your wife and protecting her. Have this documentation sent to their HR department on this day also. It will create a gigantic shit show. On the day that she's served, call her family, and your friends. Let them know that you filed for divorce, why you filed, and name Tom. Don't take any calls from her. And lastly, post on your social media. It sucks being cheated on, tagging her. Here's what happened when she left OP, and I'm not saying this to add to your heartache, but to help you move on. She left your place and went to Tom's, and they had sex multiple times, and she was euphoric afterwards. She will eventually come down from that initial high and reach back out. Do not take the bait, and just respond, "Anything you want to say to me, you can say to my attorney." And now on to the final update. Once she was gone, Sam blocked me on all her social media and refused to return my messages or answer my calls. I ended up traveling to the other side of the country to spend Christmas with my parents. On Christmas Eve, Sam came home and took more of her stuff. I watched her on our security cameras. I tried phoning her, but she ignored my calls. Christmas wasn't great, and my parents were both shocked and in denial about what had happened. They had no idea that we were having issues and insisted Sam would come to her senses and come home. Eventually, I just said that she'd met someone else. I returned home on the 27th. I'd been getting sporadic updates from Sam's sister, just letting me know that she's alright, but without any details. Before all this happened, we'd made plans to spend New Year's at Sam's favorite bar in the city. I went on my own, but she didn't show up. On Tuesday night, I received an Instagram message from Helen saying that Sam and Tom had arrived at work together in Tom's car. I didn't bother replying. On Wednesday night, she sent another message saying Sam was poisoning the office against her and that Tom was pushing upper management to transfer her to another office or get rid of her. She begged me to do something. I texted Sam and said that we needed to talk, but she didn't reply. So the next day, I called her work switchboard, gave a fake name, and got put through. I could tell that she wasn't happy to hear my voice, but she agreed to meet up after work at a local pub and talk. I got there early and she arrived 25 minutes late. She apologized for ignoring my calls and said she still cares about me and wants to end things on good terms. I said, just tell me the truth. She promised me that she wasn't having an affair with Tom and that they were just friends. She admitted that they talk a lot in the office, but insisted that it wasn't an emotional affair. She understands why I was suspicious after the Instagram message, but said that I should have accepted her denial and trusted her. She has a lot of male friends, but she felt like she couldn't hang out with them because I'd get jealous. I'd pointed out that I've never told her not to hang out with anyone, but she said that I'd be in a mood whenever she'd hang out with a guy friend. She feels like we only got married to try and fix a relationship that was already broken. Our conversations have devolved into small talk, and we've drifted apart. I said I heard that she and Tom had arrived at work together. Sam said she went to Tom's after I accused her of cheating and knew that it was over between us. They'd spent the weekend together and agreed that they'd make a better couple than we did. She needed me to know that nothing happened between them until after she'd told me that she wanted a divorce, and now they were together. And she wanted me to hear it from her before I saw it on social media. Tom was waiting outside for her in the car. All I could do was stand up and walk out. Sam texted me saying she knew I was upset, but not to do anything stupid. I blocked her number. I'm not gonna lie, it was a rough night. The next day, I was just numb. I didn't really do much. Over the weekend, I dug out our marriage certificates so I can start divorce proceedings. I've no idea what to say to Helen, so I haven't replied. I think the plan now is to try and find a new job closer to my hometown. I moved across the country to live with Sam, and I've never really felt settled here. I don't want to run into her and Tom around town. Luckily, we rent. This will probably be my last update until something miraculous happens, so thanks for reading. In the comments, Marambinian says, why do people cheat and happily ignore the fact that their new relationship is built on the funeral pyre of someone else's life? I'll never understand it. If you run into my ex-wife, feel free to ask her. My ex-husband would be good to ask as well. My ex and his now former friend's ex would also be good candidates for asking. I think my ex might be involved in that one. She lied to me that she was pregnant to get me to move abroad with her. And after we broke up, I'm chilling at a cafe when a woman walks up to me and says that she's sorry, but that her ex-husband, the father of 3 kids, and my ex had been having an affair. I later discovered that so had my ex and ex-best friends. Maybe I'm the him. I have a friend. He cheated on his wife and left her for the new woman. He then cheated on the new woman, who was shocked that he would do that, and left her for someone else, and same thing happened again. He recently got remarried to a woman that he cheated on his last girlfriend with, and she thinks that it won't happen to her. I really wonder how bad people keep getting into relationships so easily. Seems like more easily than good people. Well, that's why. They aren't making sure that they're getting into good, healthy relationships. Even in the story, it seems like OP's wife went from an unhappy, dishonest relationship to a happy for now, but still dishonest relationship, and unless she and her new partner do a lot of work together and on their own, it won't end well. A lot of people are saying that if they cheat with you, they will cheat on you, which I don't think is always true. But I do believe that someone with a pattern of cheating will repeat it unless they figure out why they keep effing up and work to change that behavior. That is hard work that lots of people won't do. But this also means that they find new relationships pretty quickly because they're willing to start obviously unhealthy relationships. Easily getting into many relationships is not always a good thing. For lots of people, it's a sign that they're bad at picking relationships. The classic, he's just a friend and I've never thought of him that way and you're just insecure, into the instant dating 2 days after the breakup. A tale as old as time. It's pretty funny too, because when I've been around friends I don't think of romantically, and there's really nothing there, we aren't dating less than a week after either of us had a breakup. It's wild how that works, huh? Am I the asshole for buying a brand new car, even though my fiancé said not to, even though we needed it? So me, 28 male, and my fiancée Ashley, 30 female, have been together for 8 years. I am the only one who drives as she doesn't have a license, so she relies on me when transportation is an issue, going to work, getting groceries, etc. As for my car, it's a piece of crap. I've had it for 5 years, and I don't know how I managed to make it last this long. It has nearly 250,000 miles on it, it needs 4 new tires, new brakes, the engine is worn, and according to the mechanic, the transmission will go any day. So getting a new car was a pretty big priority, at least for me anyway, but Ashley didn't see it that way. She did not want me to get a new car at all. She started an argument with me that it would be too expensive and we won't have any money for our wedding later this year if we do buy one. But I have money. I've budgeted a lot, and I could afford to buy a brand new car without digging into my savings and still have plenty left in my checking. Granted, yes, I could have just bought a used car, but I swore to myself to get a brand new one because I don't want high maintenance costs again. Despite showing her the numbers and everything, and even agreeing that we would still have plenty of money, she still refused. I decided that I would get a new car anyway, and bought one, paid in full, earlier this week. She was extremely pissed, and since then, Ashley has been avoiding me and figuring out other, costly means of transportation on her own. The way I see it, getting a new car was an absolute necessity, but she did not think so. Did I really do something wrong? Should I have bought a used car? Is there something else that I'm missing? In the comments, SD starting out says, "Not the asshole, but this is a clear sign that you should not be getting married yet. While you are not an asshole, your relationship is not healthy, and you need to figure that out." OP says, "If you're talking about her driver's license, she has tried multiple times, but failed each time." What? No, I'm saying that you're having a major disagreement over what sounds like a reasonable purchase. If you can't handle a situation like this now, as 2 civil adults, how are you going to handle the multitude of issues like this that will arise from being married? Not the asshole. Did the car get paid coming out of Yoel's money, or just your money? But judging from the last paragraph, it was Yoel's money that was used for the car. OP says, "It was purely my money and my money alone. We have separate finances." Since OP used the word "my" repeatedly, it's safe to say that this wasn't shared money. Sounds like fiancé wants to control all the money and has it all earmarked for the wedding, which is problematic. Info. Did she have another solution as to how the two of you would be getting around? i.e., is public transportation a reliable and viable option? OP says, "She did not have a different solution. She wanted me to keep my old car. Public transport is no help to me. I don't know about her though. She wanted you to keep using the car that needed new tires and brakes and had an engine and transmission that could go at any moment? I mean, was she aware of the risks that this would pose? Not the asshole, obviously, since I can't for the life of me figure out what else you could have done. You needed a transportation solution, and she wasn't being realistic in how you could approach such a solution." OP says, "That is correct, and yes, she was aware of the issues. And now, as a solution to what she views as overspending, she's needlessly overspending? Brilliant! What is she, 3? Just for clarification, did she have an issue with you buying a car in general, or just that you wanted a brand new, not used vehicle?" OP says, "She had an issue with me buying another car in general. She wanted me to keep my current car until it died for whatever reason." So a 30-year-old who doesn't have a license, and I'm assuming is not a mechanic, is telling you, the person who repairs or pays for repairs of the vehicle, not to get a different car and to wait until it falls apart to the point of being unrepairable at the risk of your lives, even though she depends on said transportation to go anywhere because she does not want you to spend any money except for the wedding. Do I have that straight? Does she contribute to the maintenance of the former vehicle? As in, is she the one under the hood every weekend, pays for the tires, or the brakes, or the new transmission? Honestly, not the arsehole, even though you would have been able to find a good used car at the dealership, but I understand your reasoning. But you need to start the premarital counseling soon, as in today. You two are not on the same page, and your marriage is going to implode before it begins if this is how it normally goes in your relationship. Yeah, this is really just not a good start. I understand that, the car issues and whatever, but this goes beyond the car, obviously. These two need some major work on their problem-solving skills because this is not the biggest argument that can and will pop up over time. If you guys can't solve this one together and she can't come to a logical solution to an obvious problem for the two of you, then what's going to happen when there's more existential problems? Like this one, it's so cut and dry what the answer is, but when it becomes more about feelings and things of that nature, how is she going to respond, and is she going to make things worse than they are now? Are you as the OP going to be able to handle that? What are your solutions to putting out those fires? This should be like an easy argument between you guys, and yet it is not going so well. I don't think you're the asshole for buying a brand new car. It makes sense to me. But I think it's a bit of an everyone sucks here for not knowing how to problem solve together. And now, on to the updates. Hello everyone, thank you all for commenting on my first post. There is something that I would like to address before getting to the update. There are a few lengthy threads about how Ashley must be using weaponized incompetence since she failed her driver's test several times. The written part she has passed, it's the driving section that she fails all the time. You see, she has ADHD and is on the spectrum, so she tenses up a lot when she gets behind the wheel. While her anxiety has gone down in recent years, driving is still a sore spot. Now, many of you, including me, believed that this was all just financial abuse and she wanted control of my money. Well, we were all wrong. Yesterday, I went out to take care of a few errands, and when I came back, Ashley came to me with tears. It had looked like she'd been crying for a long time. She apologized for getting angry at me and avoiding me. She said she knew my old car was on its last legs and knew that a new one was necessary. She also understood that there would be plenty of money left. Ashley admitted that she wasn't mad about the money, it was actually the memories of my old car. She only mentioned the wedding because she didn't want to sound pathetic and seemed to be the most obvious choice. You see, last year we had a 14-year-old German Shepherd that we sadly had to put down after she got cancer. Ashley had her ever since she was a pup and loved her very much, and so did I. Ashley was an absolute mess after that. We never took down her crate and had placed her old blankets, pillows, as well as her leash and collar in it. What does this have to do with my car? Well, I still had her old blanket in my old car whenever we took her out. Some of her fur was also still in the back seat, as I almost never vacuumed the back. Ashley was afraid of forgetting her, and that is why she wanted me to keep the car. I assured Ashley that I love her, and that I loved our dog, and if it meant anything, I took the blanket out of the car, which she asked me to place in the crates. I had donated my old car, but the tow truck wouldn't be there to pick it up until tomorrow, so she asked me to see the old car one more time. So we drove to the lot, and she had a tearful goodbye over it. I took her out to eat after that to get her mind away from it. So there you have it, everyone. This was never about money. In the comments, Celebration Next says, Ashley needs to see a therapist. Like, yesterday. Intentionally miscommunicating into the silent treatment is not just immature, it's downright deadly to the relationship. I must be the biggest asshole in the world, because this is the stupidest thing that I've ever heard. She gave you the silent treatment for days because the car had dog hair in it? I have ADHD, I'm on the spectrum, I've lost pets, and this still baffles me. She needs some extensive therapy if she has a full mental breakdown over something like this, because this is not healthy in any way, shape, or form, and that's coming from a person who is a frickin' mess of a human. I had a feeling that it was an irrational attachment to the old car. It's a very human thing to do. I shed a tear when I sold my first car. Even though its replacement was the equivalent model one generation newer, I still miss that car's personality traits, even while driving its direct descendant. The mind is a strange thing. I exchanged my 2008 Focus back in 2020. The car was needing costly repairs, and I was about to have a baby and wanted a newer/safer vehicle. That exchange was tough for me. I bought that Focus right after getting my big girl job. She saw my first me-planned road trip, the ups and downs of 20s relationships, moving a billion times, drove home from my wedding. Just a whole lot of memories. I feel the same when I have to exchange my current car. I sold my 2007 Focus last year for similar reasons, and it hit my wife and I harder than we both thought it would. That was the car that we drove everywhere in at a bunch of milestones in our relationship. We picked up our dog in it, moved into our first apartment together in it, picked up our marriage license in it. You never know how hard nostalgia can hit you until it does. Maybe I'm just not a very sentimental person, but that seems like a massive overreaction on the fiancé's part. I've got to think that there are other, better ways to remember a pet. Edit, just realize that they still have the dog's empty crates, collar, pillows, and blankets in their house. Insisting on driving an unreliable car just because it has dog hair in the back is a lot. You know what? All's well that ends well in this one. At least he knows that it's just something that's wrong with her and not something that's wrong with him. That we can fix with extensive therapy and communication. OP, congratulations. You are not the asshole. You've won this one. Thank you. That's not quite a relationship that I would want to take any part in personally, and it's going to be fun seeing those two work on their communication together and then getting married and doing further work together so that this is avoided in the future. Good luck, OP, and I hope you have a very happy marriage. Let's go. Our next post is by user False Negotiation 92, titled, "Am I wrong for not letting my husband's son stay at our house when he should be with his mother? My 30 female, husband 49 male, and his ex-wife 40s have joint custody of their son 11 male. He stays with his mother from Monday to Thursday and with us from Thursday nights to Monday mornings. And that's worked perfectly for years, but now he wants to break the agreement and stay with us more days a week. And if he had wanted to stay with us a few more days a few months ago, I would have gladly accepted, but not now. He had a complete change in his behavior in the last few months, and honestly, I know it sounds bad, but I can't stand him. And I'm not the only one. His sister, 19 female, can't stand him either. He is rude, dirty, and treats his younger sisters like shit, and my husband no longer knows what to do or what to say to make him change that attitude. Last Monday, he came to our house after school, even though he shouldn't have, and decided that he wanted to stay here all week. According to him, his mother let him stay, but it turns out that she never asked my husband if he could stay here, but we let him stay anyway, and it was hell. We have 3-year-old twins, and recently we had another set of twins. They are 1 month old, and the house is, of course, chaos. We have one person who helps us with the cleaning, and my husband's daughter helps us with the children, and we pay her, and everything is much easier. But since his son is here, no type of help is enough for us. He messes things up in the kitchen every 5 minutes, and leaves everything else a mess. He doesn't pick up his clothes off the floor. He plays games on his PlayStation with the volume really high, and worst of all is that whenever he has the opportunity to, he treats his sisters really bad. And it seems that he enjoys making them cry. I used to love having him at home because he was a really sweet boy. But I don't know what happened, and now he's a different person, and every time he comes home, I count the days until he leaves because I can't stand him anymore. The last time he came to our house, my daughters were in the living room watching cartoons, and he turned the television on and off until they started crying. That day, I had a horrible day. My husband had to stay longer at work, his daughter wasn't at home, and I had to be home alone all day with the children. And I had a really hard time getting the girls to sit and watch TV for at least 5 minutes so I could sit and have coffee while the babies took a nap. But I couldn't even do that because I had to calm them down so they would stop crying. They stopped crying, and after 20 minutes, he began to tell them that he was going to take our dog, whom they adore, to his mother's house, and that they wouldn't see him again. And that ended in another crying fit that he didn't even witness because when I appeared in the living room, he went to his room laughing. That night, I spoke to my husband and told him that I don't want him to stay here on the days that he has to stay with his mother because he drives me crazy. Fortunately, he understood because he also struggles with his bad behavior and doesn't know what else to do to change it. He talked to his ex-wife and told her that their son is not behaving appropriately every time he comes here and that things are getting difficult, and that until he changes his attitude, he cannot stay here whenever he wants. And she got furious, and of course she blames me. I'm so tired that sometimes I wish I had never met my husband and thought that it was a good idea to marry someone with children. I don't want to end up hating him because we are family, and we always will be, and that's why I think that until he changes his attitude, we have to respect visiting days. Am I wrong for that? Edit. We tried to take him to therapy, but he doesn't want to. We talked to his mom, and she doesn't want him to go to therapy either, so we can't force him. We tried to find out what is happening, and as I said in a comment, the only drastic change he suffered was that he is no longer the only boy in the family because I had twin boys. Of course, he says that this is stupid and that he doesn't care, but his change began when he found out that they would be boys. In the comments, Unopened Can says, I don't blame you for feeling that way. Have you tried talking to someone about his behavior? If it's a recent change, maybe he's going through something. I would also have a meeting with your husband and the ex to talk about the kid and rediscuss visitation days so that you can have more time to focus on your kids. OP replies, we spoke to a therapist and told him that it would be good to talk to her, but he didn't like the idea and told his mum that he doesn't want to go to therapy because he's not crazy. And sadly, she thinks the same way and we can't force him. So I don't know what else to do. You're the asshole. It's called parenting. Start disciplining him. He will only do what you all allow him to do. Also, he's a kid. He doesn't run the household. OP replies, I tried to discipline him within the limits that I have for being his stepmother, but he doesn't even listen to me. The last time he was playing online games with the volume really high, I tried to take his PlayStation away, and he went crazy and started yelling at me that I'm not his mum and that I have no right to tell him what to do. And honestly, I'm so tired with my 4 children that I don't have the strength to try to educate him. Where is your husband/his father? He should be parenting, and he should back you up when the son says that you can't tell him what to do. OP replies, trying to find a way to know what is happening to him and how to help him. He is a present father for all his children. He told him many times that he should respect me and listen to me, but he completely ignored him. There is no way that your husband is a present father for all his children. When was the last time your husband took a day and spent it with his oldest son? Talking and yelling isn't what his child needs. He needs his dad to spend some one-on-one time with him. Going to a ball game or a movie or whatever the child enjoys would go a long way. Do you not understand puberty? God help you when you have 4 kids going through puberty and the teenage years at the same time. OP replies, every Saturday he goes to play soccer with my husband and their children, and he takes him to piano lessons on Tuesdays. Apart from that, he spends a lot of time with his dad when he is at home. He loves to help him cook. He likes to go running with him. They spend a lot of time together. My husband never stopped paying attention to him to pay attention to his younger siblings. It never was, nor will it be, like that. I don't think that it's a coincidence that his behavior changed over the last few months and you had twin babies. I think he desperately needs some regular one-on-one time with his father. He's inserting himself negatively into your babies and other twins' lives so that he gets some sort of attention. His father needs to take him out for one day and do something just with him. He's probably struggling with having to share his dad with 4 new siblings. I mean, he is 11, and getting 4 siblings in 3 years would be hard. Maybe get him into some family therapy rather than alienate him. And now, onto the updates. First of all, I want to clarify that I do love my stepson. A post of a few paragraphs doesn't describe our relationship in any way. I'm just used to calling him my husband's son because I had a lot of problems in the past with his mother because she didn't like me calling him that, because that confused him, and during his first years, he tried many times to call me mum. Another thing that I want to clarify is that my stepdaughter doesn't raise my children. She only babysits them from time to time for a few hours, and we pay her, so that she has her own money and doesn't have to work while she's in college. As for my stepson, he came to stay here these days, and once again made my life hell. I started baking cookies with the girls, and asked him if he wanted to help us, and he accepted. But when I left the hot cookie plate on the counter, he took the hand of one of his sisters and placed hers on the hot plates, and of course, he burned her. And listen, I know that it was my fault for leaving it near the kids, but he shouldn't have done that. After that, they sat down to watch a movie and drink milk and cookies in the living room, and he cut about 4 centimeters of one of the girls' hair as a joke. I scolded him, and he said that it was unintentional, that he was just joking, and that he didn't really want to cut her hair. That same day, my husband and I cut off his internet access and confiscated his electronics, and had a talk with him for the 1000th time. And all he said was that he hates his siblings because they're going to replace him, that his mother told him that my husband stopped taking him to soccer practice because he wants to spend time with his new children. And that could not be further from the truth. My husband stopped taking him to soccer practice because he got a promotion and works longer shifts. He knows this because my husband told him, because that's why he takes him to his piano lessons even when he is with his mum. But he believed his mum, and he's been acting like a demon ever since. My husband is an incredible father to all of his children and works hard to give everything to all of them. He pays for his daughter's apartment and her studies, and every Saturday he takes her to lunch at her favorite restaurant to have some time alone. On Saturday nights, he goes to play soccer with his son and friends and their children, and as I said before, he takes him to his piano lessons. Then they go to dinner, and he takes him to his mother's house. They also used to go fishing every weekend, but that's something that his mother didn't like, so my husband had to stop doing it. I never intervened in their relationship, because I had no relationship with my father, and I didn't want his children to go through the same thing. So I always supported him spending time with them, and I would never do anything to harm their relationship, and I admit that maybe this time I acted in an exaggerated way, but I was desperate. I don't even sleep more than 1 hour a day, and yet I have to function all day and take care of 2 newborns, 2 toddlers, and a preteen who now hates me. We can't even afford a full-time nanny to help me because, as I said above, my husband is the one who pays for his daughter's studies because a few months ago, we found out that the ex-wife was using the money that was for her studies, and if I had known that before, I would have never gotten pregnant a second time. I clarify that for those who judged me for choosing to be a mother again. My stepson will be without electronics or internet for a month and will start therapy next week, even though his mother doesn't want to. And of course, from now on, he won't be unsupervised with his siblings either, which makes life more difficult, yet I accepted it because I just want this mess to be solved. My husband is talking to his lawyer to see if he can get more days with his son, and we're waiting for his lawyer to tell him how to proceed legally. That's all. In the comments, Wonky Doodle Poodle says, "Your husband should be getting this child into therapy. He burned his sister's hand. He also needs to fight back against the mum for parental alienation and assure that his child is not being replaced by the new siblings. You keep stepping in to say this, but your husband needs to be doing this. If his job is too important to have time for his child, then yeah, just throw the kid away because you can't have that threat in your home, but this is a seriously messed up situation that doesn't sound like anyone wants to get proper advice on how to handle." So kid hates his younger siblings, but simultaneously doesn't want to go to mum's house to go get away from them. Seems to me like mum is the source of the problems. You can see this at the start of the post. He's with his mum from Monday after school until Thursday before school, so the only time he spends there is already divided in half days because of school. Then later on, we learn that Tuesdays after school, Dad takes him to piano lessons and for dinner. He's 11. His bedtime is probably pretty early, so he only spends around 2 to 3 hours with his mum on Tuesdays. So he's got that, plus Monday after school, Wednesday before and after school, and then Thursday before school. Factor in that before school, people are mostly busy, getting ready, showering, grabbing stuff, eating, and traveling, so that doesn't really leave room for time to spend together or even actual conversation. Most mothers want to spend some free quality time with their child. Yet this one seems to be fine with seeing hers for the bare minimum, for the obligation only. Add behavioral problems, and lashing out at that, behavior escalating, especially after even more children got added to that equation, there is no way in hell this child does not feel neglected. Also, honestly, it makes sense to me despite all the comments wondering why he spends time there instead of at mum's. Why would you lash out for attention in a household where you're not getting it? Of course you're going to act out with the parents who will give you the attention that you want. Yes, OP's household has levers that he can use to get attention, being mean to his half-siblings. He's crossed over to assault. Something happened at his mother's house, and his father doesn't know how to talk to his wife about it. It had to be bad. Kid went from sweetest boy to attacking his sisters. What in the actual hell are these parents doing about it? This is escalating, and someone's about to get permanent damage. Yeah, he literally burnt one of his sister's hands and cut off her or the other sister's hair. It doesn't sound like he feels bad about his actions at all. This is going to get worse before it gets better. Am I the asshole here for telling a friend what her tattoo really says? Throwaway. Friend group knows my main account. I, 37 male, went out New Year's Eve with a group of friends, and the group had some friends of friends too. Basically, people I've only known in passing. One of them, Andy, 39 male, brought his girlfriend Julie, 30s female. Julie decided to show a tattoo that she got last week. She rolled up her sleeve to show it, and she announced proudly that it said, "Strength and Beauty" in Chinese. It was on her forearm, and I almost spit-took. Now, I have to explain that I'm half Korean, but people have mistaken me as Hispanic, so I don't really look Korean to most Westerners. I'm also not fluent, but conversational in Korean, and able to read. The tattoo was in Hangul characters, and it definitely did not say strength and beauty. Julie got upset at my spit take and asked what my problem was. I said, "It's not Chinese, and it doesn't say what you think it does." She got even more mad and said, "What would I know?" I explained that I was Korean American, can read Korean, and what it says is not nice. I asked her what happened to the tattoo shop, and she said she always wanted to get Asian characters and went to a shop and saw a Chinese guy in the shop and demanded that he be the one to do her ink. I asked Julie and Andy if Julie did anything that could have pissed the tattoo artist off. She denied it, but Andy confessed she was super pushy about it and kept saying that she wanted him to do it over any other artist in the shop because he would be used to the characters, plus a few other statements. By this point, she was crying and not enjoying hanging out for New Year's Eve. She wanted to leave, and she wanted Andy to take her. On her way out, she asked me what it said. I said, "It's like the worst thing you could call a woman. It's like female dog, but worse." She just burst into tears while walking out. After the two of them left, the rest of my friends said that I was a real jerk for spoiling her new tattoo, and I could have made something up or not reacted. I had to explain that the word used is really a cultural faux pas, and to see it on skin is shocking to the highest degree. And the fact that I was sipping on a beer when she revealed it only made a spit take impossible to avoid. Well, this morning I got some messages from friends saying that I should really apologize to Julie for traumatizing her about her tattoo. I feel like this is ridiculous. Like, it's a really vulgar word on her arm, and if I had that on my skin, I'd like to know. But everyone else thinks that I should just have complimented her instead. So Reddit, am I the asshole for revealing to a friend what her tattoo actually says? In the comments, Crabby Ol Liberian says, "Not the asshole. Hangul and Chinese characters are completely different. She's embarrassed, and rightly so because she effed up. Personally, I think you did her a solid by pointing it out. Offer to get a Sharpie and fix until she can get it covered." Sigh. And who gets a tattoo in a foreign language without checking it out? A quick Google Translate on her phone would have shown her what it said, or at least what it should look like. I have a Sanskrit word tattoo, and before I got it, I researched its meaning. One person who knows Sanskrit told me that it needed a minor correction, which I had done. If I had a vulgarity inked on my body, I would be so thankful that someone told me, "You did the right thing." Not the asshole. She will undoubtedly come across additional people who are able to read it and who will probably react strongly to it. I hope she learns from it not to be pushy when dealing with service members and to do her homework before committing to anything. Not the asshole. You didn't give her the shitty tattoo. You informed her that it said something bad. Everyone is only mad at you because you brought it to light, as you should. If I had what sounds like a possible slur on my arm, I would want to know ASAP so I could get the tattoo covered up or laser removed. Love how none of the friends are upset with Julie for being a racist witch. Yeah, what's going on? How is everyone on Julie's side for this one? I understand not rocking the boat, but just reinforcing the boat like this is crazy. Oh yeah, she was a crazy psycho racist woman to this Asian person who she singled out and was like, do it in Chinese! Do the Chinese characters right now! And he wasn't even Chinese. That's fine. Let's just ignore the fact that she did that and focus on the Asian American here and how him pointing it out was the wrong thing. Are we living in fantasy land here? Am I not understanding things correctly? Did they not see what was going on in front of their eyes? What an insanely horrendous, racist thing for her to do, and then have everyone be like, you know what? It's easier to back the racist, crazy psycho because I don't want her directing that energy towards me, so let's go for the innocent party here who was just trying to help. He's obviously the asshole. I don't even think that this is a situation where the road to hell is paved with good intentions exists because, you were taking her to heaven and she was like, hell nah, I'm nosediving face first back into hell. Don't you try and stop me. And now, onto the updates. My friends contacted me a day later and apologized for responding to me the way that they did New Year's Eve. They said they were more worried about the New Year's Eve party being brought down that night, but after sleeping on it and getting back to work, most of them realized they too would have wanted to know if they got branded with a vulgar word. Also, very few knew Julie, and only knew her through Andy, so they mostly tolerate her. Apparently this isn't her first incident either, and Julie isn't white. Which is kind of funny, everyone painting her as some blonde white girl. So I decided to play peacemaker, and I talked to Andy and Julie, and even offered to meet them at the tattoo shop. We went on Friday night, walked in, and I saw the tattoo artist in question. The funny thing is, most Asians can tell that I'm half Asian by looking, so he saw and went, "You told her what it said, yes?" kind of nonchalantly in Korean. We had a brief discussion in Korean. He remarked my accent had an American twang to it, asked where my family was from, found out both our families came from the same city. The gist is, I pointed out he could get sued for the tat. He admitted that he pressed his luck with it and offered to pay out of his pocket for another artist in the shop to do a cover-up. I relayed that back to Julie, and that seemed to appease her. She went to one of the, I guess tattoo people would call it a workstation, and he explained that she still has to wait 2 months. Julie didn't like that, even when the artist explained that standard procedure is to wait 2 months for a tat to heal until a cover-up is done. Andy thankfully Googled it and pointed out that 2 months seems to be a minimum, and more complex tattoos have up to 6 months recommended healing before a cover job. She accepted the offer for a free cover, and paperwork was signed and such. In the comments, I'm Not Creepy 3 says, "A few years ago, I was at the convenience store and this woman in line in front of me was talking to the cashier about a tattoo that she got on the back of her neck. She claimed it meant something like peace or love in Chinese, and it actually just said, 'I am' in Korean." So stupid. I have monkey tattooed on me because it's my Chinese zodiac. I actually had a customer ask me if I knew what it meant once, because, I'm assuming, he thought it meant something like strength or beauty. He seemed relieved when I said monkey. I don't get how people who get foreign words tattooed on them don't quadruple check the meanings themselves before actually doing it. My Greek professor was running late to a meeting that I'd scheduled once. He told me a totally random girl, student at the university but not in his classes, had popped by his office asking for help. She was planning to get a very obscure/complex quote tattooed on herself in Greek, so he had busted out every reference book he could find to make sure her tattoo was absolutely perfect. Seriously, don't get a tattoo in a language you can't read. It's just a terrible idea. At least my "your tattoo doesn't say what you thought it does" was just telling someone that their tat basically said princess instead of a religious daughter of God. Supposedly, her priest knew Hebrew well enough to write what she wanted, but a letter was missing that made a pretty big difference in meaning. All my own tattoos are in English, and if I ever get another language, it would be in Hebrew, which I do speak. I still stand by what I said, that it was incredibly racist, and she's an idiot for doing what she did. I didn't really think of the fact that the tattoo artist can get in trouble for that as well. It doesn't exactly stand out to me as like hate speech, because I've seen way worse tattooed on people, but the fact that it was done maliciously, I feel like regardless of how she treated him in that moment, yeah, that would still make you liable for being sued by her for that. Smart move by OP to go in and tell him that and be like, your ass is on the line for this one, buddy. Doesn't matter what she did, you're in trouble. Our next post is by user ThrowRAAccountant371, titled, My whole marriage is built on lies. I don't know who to trust. I'm using a burner account. I'm afraid this will be leaked by him, but I am on my work computer. I am a 45-year-old female, my husband is 47 years old, we have 3 daughters, 20 female, 19 female, and 15 female. What I thought was a perfect family was a lie orchestrated by my husband. We moved into a new home closer to the middle daughter's college. As I was unpacking some of the stuff, I came across my husband's box. I was just checking if things were missing or not. I opened his box and found some stuff. Those were my photos when I was 20 years old. There were pictures of me going to college, to my gym, hangout spots with my friends. There were lists of the places that I used to visit when I was 20 years old. But here's the thing, I met my husband on my 22nd birthday. So why does he have numerous pictures of me in different places from 20 to 22? He had pictures of me in my own apartment back then. As I went down into the rabbit hole, I discovered many things. A list of the places I normally went to back then, like my gym, my library, my classes. He had lists of all my friends and their names in a diary. He even had the list of all the guys that I'd dated back then. I found his diary from 1998. Most of his entries were about me. I didn't even know who he was back then. He didn't even exist for me. I won't bore you with all the details, but basically, he staged the day we met for the first time. To woo me, he took a job as a bartender at the bar that I usually went to. He spiked my drink so that I could pass out and he could save me. It worked because I was very much impressed by him. I mean, any guy would take advantage of a drunk girl, but he didn't. He took me to my home safely when my roommate received me. I forgot my purse in the bar, which was my husband's ploy too. He stole my purse so that I could come and get it. From there, we started dating. I don't want to say that everything he did was a lie, but that's all that was. Now I know why he would always bring me things that I liked. I thought that we were soulmates, but in reality, he was just a creep who stalked me for 2 years. I never felt like I was in his control. In fact, he has always showered me with love. He was not controlling or abusive, he had always been there for me. He was so sweet, passionate, and caring that I felt like the luckiest girl in the world to be with him. Even now, when I told him that I have to work the day before Christmas, he smiled and told me that he'll handle it. Now this is all a lie. I don't even know the person that I married. How can I ever trust him? We've built our lives around a lie. How can I tell my children that their father is a con? I feel like I'm going crazy. No one will believe me. He's created this image about himself that he can do no wrong. Please help me sort these feelings. I do not know what to feel. Of course, he lied and hid the truth from me. God knows how much more he is hiding. I have doubts that he even has a second family because of what a psychopath he is. I try to remember good things about him, but the fact that he has staged my entire life, starting from when we started dating, is scary to me. I left out many details because he uses Reddit. About the photos, OP says, "No, I didn't share them. Those photos were taken by him while he was creeping on me. I hadn't even met him back then. And it's very ironic that you are more concerned about his privacy being violated when he has been violating my privacy for more than 20 years. On If the Story is Fake, OP says, "I'm going to make it clear once and for all, and people who are interested can read this comment. No, this is not fake. I changed some details to make it less obvious, but the main point is unchanged. Why would I attention seek through a throwaway? And for those who were asking about the diaries, I came across them while setting up our house. Back then, he had a habit of journaling. He would keep a diary with him everywhere he goes. He stopped after our wedding. He has kept every diary. I didn't read any of those, just the one from the year when he was stalking. Stop reporting it. In the comments, Empty Space 227 says, "The fact that you discovered all of this after 20 good years of marriage must make it all the more difficult and heartbreaking. Most of the stalker behavior is weird and creepy, but maybe could have been forgotten if he was otherwise a good guy. But he drugged you. He intentionally drugged you. This is such an awful and selfish thing to do. If you think this may impact whether you want to stay married to him, please talk to an attorney. But no matter what else you do, please talk to a therapist. I think this is heavy enough that you should consider professional help in dealing with your feelings on it." He may have changed from 20 years ago, but why keep all the sordid details, the names of her friends? That guy has psychological issues and is not safe. I feel for OP. It may be difficult for her to find a therapist who can help in a bizarre case like this. An attorney is the best first thing to do. I'm not sure that I'd even discuss it with him. Who knows what else he's hidden over the years? And now, on to the updates. Hello everyone, Happy New Year's. I just wanted to give you guys an update. Thanks for all the comments and advice. I know many of you are eager for an update, so here it is. Long story short, we are separated. We are both attending therapy, individual and couples therapy. We are not getting a divorce for now, but I did tell my girls the truth. Long version, the day after I posted this, I started to plan how I wanted to approach it. I acted like everything was normal during Christmas, but my husband had noticed that I was concerned. It was hard faking everything knowing how much he had lied. After the Christmas dinner, I sat down with my husband and told him everything. I even showed him what I had found. I asked him to tell me the truth. He didn't deny it. He said that he once saw me at the gym and knew that he wanted to meet me. So he followed me around. Back then, all my hangout places, gym, college, were in the same area, so it was easy for him. He would often be sitting outside my house some days to see where I go. Then when he saw the bar that I used to go with my friends quite often, he somehow managed to get a job there. And you know the rest. At that moment, I felt sick to my stomach. I was overwhelmed with fear and anger. I was crying. My husband came to comfort me and I screamed at him, "Don't you touch me, you effing creep!" I can see that he was hurt by it. He was begging me to forgive him. He said that he knows what he did was wrong, but the love for me that he had was true. We didn't sleep the whole night. I pressured him to tell me everything, like how much he controlled my life, or I would tell the girls everything. He was honest. He said the night we met was the only thing that he orchestrated. Everything else was true. He didn't follow me, he trusted me, and begged me to not leave him. When the morning came, I urged my husband to tell the girls the truth, because I wanted separation, and I do not want to hide anything from them. We didn't tell them anything about the stalking, just the fact that we will be separating and that we still love them. My youngest didn't take it well. My oldest and middle child were understanding. I told my husband that he and I both need therapy to see where we do stand. I was seriously questioning my marriage. Then again, he was the best partner I've ever had. He is a perfect husband and a good father. I remember those times when we would enjoy the snow on New Year's and barely get out of bed. I will always remember the good memories that we shared. Our wedding, our honeymoon, the birth of our children, and every family vacation. Those were not lies. I know that he loves me deeply, but this is something that I cannot get out of my head. Now I just feel guilty about calling him a creep. I can see that it broke him inside. I love him so deeply, and I know he loves me too. He never hurt me or did anything that would cause me any harm. He never cheated on me. He could have, but he didn't. That's why divorce is not an option. We will see how we can move past this through therapy. This might just be my last update, unless things change. In the comments, Armchair Detective says, "I feel like there's something wrong with nearly every comment on here. OP's original post explained that her husband administered a date ray drug to her the first time they met. He did this so he could save her and look like a good guy. Honestly, that would be it for me. This man is psychotic, and anyone who thinks he's a good man, who just loves her, needs to take a long look at what they think is acceptable behavior. OP is not safe with him. He should not be allowed near women. It's so crazy. This whole thing is insane. Her story reads like someone who's been groomed. He could have cheated and didn't? Anyone else would have taken advantage of a girl that had been drugged. Her reality is so skewed, and no one here is taking this seriously enough. He stalked her, he drugged her, and manipulated her. Of course he isn't going to admit anything past what she has evidence of. He clearly has used the information about her that he got while stalking her to woo her and make her think that they are soulmates. For the sake of setting a good example for her daughters, since she probably won't do it for herself, they need to be informed and watch her leave him. It's not like he orchestrated a meet cute after he saw her at the gym. He stalked her, tracked her movements and places that she habitually visited, he watched her home, he followed her around. He took pictures of her in her own home. He got a job serving drinks at her regular bar and drugged her and stole her purse. I'm sorry, but you sound like a Stockholm Syndrome victim. He drugged you. For you to believe anything that comes out of his mouth now is astounding. And why did he keep all of his stalking souvenirs? He had to know that they could lead him to being discovered. The psychology behind this is grotesque. You have no idea who you are married to. None. There is a dangerous stranger in your house, around your children. Does your individual therapist know the whole story? Anyways, if this post is real, I hope you'll focus on your individual therapy and start secretly laying the groundwork for a safe escape if you should need one. I fear that if he ever truly believed that you were leaving, he would turn very dark and possibly kill you. I remember reading this, and some of the comments were disturbing. Some people actually believed that being followed for 2 years and being drugged is not a big deal. I'm wondering what the hell else this dude did the other 20 years to keep his wife. I feel like people are conflating the watched her from afar at a place they both regularly attended, such as school or work, and maybe noticed what she liked to get from vending machines before working up the courage to approach her, rom-com trope, with literally stalked her to use the knowledge that she couldn't suspect he had to manipulate her after literally drugging her, psychological thriller trope here. There's a big difference between high school stalking, where you might change which way you'd go to class or join an activity to get more time around a crush, and full-on waiting outside someone's house to figure out their entire routine and taking creep shots, also drugging her. That is genuinely so terrifying and soul-crushing because that's not something that you can just get over. Even if he was honest and didn't orchestrate anything about her life, from that point on, everything is still tainted. Am I the asshole here for making my wife confess to all her friends and family that she cheated on me if she did not want a divorce? I, 34 male, have been married to my wife, 32 female, for 5 years, and we have 3 children. A few months ago, I found out from my wife's texts that she'd been cheating on me, and I confronted her about it. She confessed to it and gave me an entire breakdown of her affair, which had lasted for a month. I was devastated and asked her why. She gave no excuses for it and said that she'd caught feelings for her affair partner, which were wrong, and she had acted on them. He was her co-worker. I asked her if I lacked in anything, and she said no, and she was in tears. I needed a few days to process this. My wife gave me space, but she asked me many times to reconsider divorce because it would uproot the lives of our children. She said she would do anything I wanted for the rest of my life. After a week, I decided that I needed only one thing from my wife to completely forgive her, and that was to call each and every one of her friends and family and confess to her affair. I told her that was my only condition. She was really hesitant and asked me if I could reconsider the condition because this would ruin a lot of her friendships and family relationships. But I told her that this is what I needed as a part of my forgiveness process, and that if she didn't do this, I was going to start looking for a divorce lawyer. Over the next week, my wife made a phone call to all of her friends, parents, grandparents, siblings, uncles, aunts, pretty much anyone she knew, and confessed to her affair. It was hurtful, and there was a lot of crying. My wife was hurled with a lot of shouting, and by the week's end, my wife had called everyone that I wanted her to call. It's been a few months, and my wife and I actually have a really strong relationship now. However, my wife has pretty much become isolated from her friends and a lot of her family. This has hurt her a lot, and she spends a lot of nights crying, but she says this was worth it for our relationship and for our children. Am I the asshole here? In the comments, Glittering Joke says, "Incredible that anyone with 3 small kids finds the time to cheat. I only have 1 and barely have time to shower. Agree. I've got a toddler and a 4-month-old baby, and if I get 5 minutes to go shit in peace, it's like Christmas. I started crying once because of all the little fingers and cat paws reaching under the bathroom door. I could even hear our blind dog walking into the door somehow. How did they all fit? Why?" Altruistic Barber says, "I just feel like that's embarrassing for you too. You stayed with a cheating spouse. Like, your wife shit the bed, then had to tell her whole family and friends that she shit the bed, while you were in the bed sitting in the shit. But when they divorce, people won't be asking why. She can still try to spin this to make herself the victim, but it won't be as easy because she's already broadcasted her infidelity. The goal of every marriage should be to win divorce. I understand the need to get your wife to confess to someone other than yourself, but from the number of persons you describe her calling, it seems to be more airing the dirty laundry. Aside from the parents and siblings, what's the point of letting other relatives and friends know? Everyone sucks here. I hate cheaters, but I don't understand what you're trying to do here. I guarantee you, your relationship is not stronger than ever. The public humiliation you put her through will stay with her until she explodes. It would be one thing if she told a bunch of lies about you and it needed to be corrected, but I just don't know what you're trying to do here. Stronger than ever, but she cries at night. OP has a dent in his skull." Dude, I don't know why you didn't just go divorce and end things. It was obviously a deal breaker, but this wasn't necessary. Obviously, she's an asshole for cheating, and at least she admitted to it once you caught her and didn't try to deny that fact. But I don't know what the point of this all was. You should have just gone to therapy and worked on this together. You know, you might as well be divorced if she's going to be forced to go air out the dirty laundry to everyone. It just feels needless, you know? It's unnecessary. Like, yes, it's cruel for her to cheat on you. I can absolutely understand that, and I understand why you want revenge. But most people won't act out on these revenge desires for exactly the reason as you're experiencing now. Look how much damage it has done to the both of you, and you're covering it up by saying that it's more stable than it has ever been? Are you delusional? And now, on to the updates. I feel really guilty even typing this out, but I'm now considering a divorce. While I still love my wife, her personality has completely shifted over the past few months, and she is no longer the joyous and energetic person that I fell in love with. Instead, she's always sad, gloomy, cries often, and very, very clingy to me. I admit I made a mistake asking her to confess her affair to everyone because it has just changed her personality completely. I wish she could go back to her joyous nature, but I don't know if it's possible anymore. I'm not sure how to tell my wife that I'm considering divorce because it would just break her heart. In the comments, NW Progressive Fan says, "Bruh, she needs therapy." So does OP, to be honest. He thought they had a strong relationship when she was crying herself to sleep most nights, after making her confess her affair to everyone he wanted, effectively isolating her from everyone, and now he minds that she's clingy? I've been cheated on, so I know it hurts, but that's about as graceless a way to handle it as I've seen. What she did was terrible, but you just should have divorced her from the beginning instead of essentially dragging other people into your drama by asking her to confess to everyone, and then being shocked that after she quit her job and had no support, is no longer happy. Everyone needed therapy before the update, but didn't get it, as far as I could see. I think the guy has a humiliation kink, to be honest. It seems more like revenge. I wouldn't be surprised if he never actually considered staying together, but just wanted her to feel the same level of pain. Side note, yes, I know I'm very cynical. It's not a kink, it's a need for control. She did something that spun his world out of control, and so he grabbed the wheel of the car back from her, got them back on course, and demanded that she drive into a ditch to prove her love for him. He got his revenge, but really thought he was going to get his old wife back afterwards. This is a can't have your cake and eat it too moment if I ever saw one. Like he wanted to publicly shame her, but didn't realize what that would actually look like after the fact. There is no reconciliation after revenge. It is literally burning bridges in any circumstances. Yup, it's like that saying that before you embark on revenge, dig 2 graves. There was no way that his demand was going to end with happiness and rainbows. He was naive to think that everything would be okay. He didn't really think that. He said that out loud to Reddit. He knew that in his heart of hearts, he was never going to forgive her. This was punishment meant to isolate her. He probably isolated her in other ways prior to her cheating as well. OP is more repulsive than most cheaters I've encountered. This is my take as well. He knew he was going to get her to do this and then leave. This was a punishment and nothing more. 100%. He wanted vindication from the people around him, but he didn't even want to be the bad guy enough to tell on his wife. So he manipulated her into it. She did a bad thing, and I won't excuse it, but OP wanted her humiliated, isolated, and broken down. This was revenge, pure and simple, and not the fun kind. OP's wife definitely sucks, but OP might suck even more. Just leave, bro. You knew that you weren't gonna stay, you just had to ruin her life before ending the marriage. One could obviously argue that she ruined her own life, and I'm not even debating that, but to force her to call distant family members on both sides to inform them of her transgression is just a whole different level of childish. Everyone sucks, but OP takes the cake here in my opinion. I rarely come out of these feeling bad for the cheating party, but shit, I feel a bit bad for her somehow. Yeah, I feel pretty bad for her too, honestly. Absolutely, this is a situation where 2 wrongs do not make a right. That's a pretty fire saying though, if you're gonna go for revenge, dig 2 graves. I don't know why OP is acting dumb in the update here saying that, oh, you know what, I'm actually considering divorce now. Brother, you were considering divorce as soon as she cheated. There was never a world in which divorce wasn't on the table. Don't act surprised. I'm definitely ending this one on everyone sucks here. I do think that they should have gone for marriage counseling. They should have kept this thing private until the public breaking up and divorce. But no, it takes a very cruel person to put the person they loved, obviously yes, that person cheated on you, through such a humiliation trial only for it to go to where it was going to go anyway. I just hate this. Let's go to the next story, shall we? Posted by a deleted user, titled, "My boyfriend, 22 male, gave a handmade Christmas present to his mother, 40 female, that I, 22 female, made. I make really cool vases as a hobby. These can take weeks to complete and are always made with the giftee in mind. My mum, 50 female, and I have always been into nature together. We hike, we own animals, we eat outside if we can. I guess being into nature sounds weird. We just like being outside. So I made my mum a Siamese cat urn. It looks like a vase, but the top is the cat's ears. It is super cute, and I loved the way that it turned out. No one died or anything, it was just the style of the piece. I had finished it and taken it into my apartment, wrapped it up, and been so excited about it. Well, my boyfriend's mother came over, and he didn't get her a Christmas or birthday present. She loves cats, so he just gave her the piece that I made, which she loved. My boyfriend does not live with me. He has his own apartment near his school. His mother came over before we went over for dinner to see my new kitten. She was in tears over how nice the present was, and I ruined it. I told her that the presents must have gotten mixed up, that was made for my mother. She got a bit upset, gave it back, and then my boyfriend went out for dinner with her. He said that it would be best if I didn't come. I guess she cried the whole way, and he didn't have a present for her, so he looked like a bad son. I have trouble seeing where I'm at fault. I understand that the nice thing would have been to remake the gift, or let her have it. However, it was one of my best pieces, and I always give my mother art that I make. She loves it, she shows it off to everyone, it is something that she takes great pride in. She has one from every Christmas and I never miss a year. She even shows off the crappy lumps that I made as a kid. My boyfriend wants to talk tomorrow. I'm not sure if he's going to break up with me or if he wants to yell at me for it. I just need to know what people think. Was I a jerk? Boyfriend seems to think I was. I love this guy very much and I really love his mom. She is super sweet and kind and never really gets nice things. I still don't think that it's my job to cover for his lack of foresight. Her birthday comes every year on the same day. It's not like it surprised him. I got her a card and a book, which I thought was nice. She thanked me for them later over text, but she seemed really sad about the cat vase. I guess she was hoping that I either made her something or my boyfriend actually got her something that she really liked. She loves cats, and he has never gotten her anything cat-themed. It's always some cooking supplies or an apron, which means that he sucks at presents. So I'm just not sure what to think. Does anyone have any idea what to do in this situation? In the comments, Princess Awesome Pants says, I don't really have advice to give, but I want you to know that I think that your actions were quite reasonable. Your boyfriend should not have taken the gift that you had made specifically for your mother. It sucks that his mother was hurt, but I think if you'd let him get away with it, it would have set a bad precedent. Good for you for standing up for yourself. If he decides to break up with you over this, it's due to his own flaws and immaturity. He could have asked you to make something for his mother, or found something that she would like, and he didn't. Don't apologize for your actions. If anything, he owes you a massive apology for trying to steal your mother's present and making you look like the bad guy to his mother. Yup, OP, this guy is clearly in the wrong. And you did nothing wrong. Don't let him distract you by the fact that his mom is hurt. It's on him. OP says, I just don't like hurting people. He hurt 3 people. He was too lazy to bother getting his mom an actual gift and just stole yours. He was willing to hurt you doing it and willing to hurt your mom from the loss of your forethought. The guilt and hurt is all on him. You just called him out. It's his shame. 4, actually. His actions have hurt himself too. His actions also hurt me when I read about them, and they also hurt baby Jesus. You did nothing wrong. You made something that you spent a lot of time and love on for your mother, and if he doesn't understand or respect that, then that's on him. While that sucks for his mum, that isn't your problem. You seem like a compassionate person, which is why you feel bad, but I think your boyfriend was expecting to use that in his favor, which isn't okay. OP replies, I'm really hurt that he would take it, especially because I showed him the item before I wrapped it. He even said that my mum would love it. I hoped, and I might seem stupid, that this was a panic moment. Like he didn't want to disappoint her, so he just took it, but I'm still hurt that he is blaming me for this at all. So he was completely aware of the fact that this was a gift for your mum? It's not like he can even plead ignorance on that point. Yeah, it was wrapped up with a card that said, to Kara, which is my mum's name. He took the card off. And yeah, he isn't looking good as people talk to me about this. Wow, what a tool. To actually take the card with your mum's name off the present so he could give it to his mum is just icing on the douche cake. I think you did everything right. The confidence it took to speak up, and in a neutral way, is fantastic. If he has a problem, it's because he is short-sighted and selfish. As an aside, I feel bad for his mum. It would be hard having such a thoughtless son. OP says, I feel terrible for his mum, and as much as I love him, I don't want to become a person like his mother. He has been fantastic to me up until now, but I wonder if this isn't just a sign that he is faking it. I mean, how can you not get your mother something? Even just a little book or a trinket? I just wonder how hard it is to find something they would like. Even asking her to dinner and paying would be nice. She paid for the dinner herself because he claimed he had no money. Man, this situation keeps sounding worse and worse. Good instincts on not wanting to be treated like his mum, and noting his behavior is a red flag. If he was just bad at gift giving but wanted to do something nice for her, you would know. He would have asked your advice on what to get her, or at the very least, mentioned it to you. It sounds like he straight up didn't think to get her anything. How long have you guys been together? OP says, I have known him for 4 years, but we only started dating about 9 months ago. Yeah, I don't know about this one, Chief. Kind of seems like a lot of issues on his end that you're now discovering. 9 months into dating, 4 years into knowing him, it's not looking good, bruv. It's not looking good. I think you should take a step back and really consider the future of this relationship and whether it's right for you to stay with a person like this, where you see so many issues springing up out of a present. What else could happen in the future? How much worse could it get? If this was an am I the arsehole situation, I'd say absolutely not the arsehole on your part, OP. And now, onto the update. I want to thank everyone for all the help. A few people advised that I should have just let his mum have the gift. This is not something that I was comfortable doing. I don't make art to sell, I make art to give to people who I love very much. So each piece has a lot of love in it. My now ex-boyfriend showed up at around 4 p.m. and wanted to talk at me. He just told me that he was disappointed and that he had taken a lot of sweet talking to make his mother understand what happened. He told her that I mixed up the packages, but that I had one for her that I just needed to get. I told him that I didn't have anything for her and that I was not going to be helping him out. He could go buy one for her and pass it off as handmade, but I was not covering for him. I told him I felt that his behavior was cruel to me, the effort that I put into my art, and my mum, his mum, just everyone. He told me that he expected better. He would not apologize, he just kept getting angrier and angrier. He ended up grabbing a piece that I made earlier this year. I was really proud of it. It was a mermaid on a rock. He said he would give this to her and that I could find a new boyfriend. I told him that if he left with it, I would call the police. We weren't screaming, but we were both really angry. He slammed it back down on my table. He told me he never wanted to see me again and that I should call him when I grew the F up. I told him that we were over, that he was no longer my boyfriend and I wanted nothing to do with him. I said he could take the clay back if he wanted, but I'd already returned his Xbox to the store. He told me to keep the effing clay, and he wouldn't have apologized if he knew that I wasn't giving him the presents. He called me a liar and said that I had ruined his holiday. According to the dribble coming out of his mouth, his mum was really hurt and had left town early. He thought giving her a piece and shifting the blame to me for getting would make it better. I told him to just leave. So now I'm single, with a lot of clay and a lightly cracked mermaid statue. I'm not sure how to feel about this, but Dobby is free. In the comments, yes! I was waiting for this update. Wow, he acted even shittier than I expected. I guess in a way it's good. There can be no ambiguity as to just how much of an asshole this guy is. Good job, OP. There are good presents all around in this post. One lovely handmade present for OP's mum, the awesome present that OP gave herself by getting rid of the douche, plus some nice justice porn for all of us here who were incensed by that first post. Also, unexpected Harry Potter reference for the fans. I'm only sorry for the ex-boyfriend's mum, who deserves better. He doesn't even merit coal. That's a precious resource these days. I'm sorry. Not because you're single, because F that douche. I'm just sorry that you had to go through that with him trying to force you into the role of the bad guy when he clearly couldn't give two shits about what gift to get his own mother. I truly hope your mother continues to enjoy your crafts. I hope you continue to enjoy making them, and well, someday, I'm sure that you'll find a guy who will appreciate the effort and passion that you put into these things and won't try and take you for granted. Chin up and walk tall. You did the right thing, and you're better off without him. I'm incredibly confused how this guy pieced together that OP was being immature. I've pored through her posts and cannot find a single thing that she did that was immature. Projecting his own crappy self onto her in a failed attempt to shame her into submission. OP's a boss, deserves endless crafting materials and love. I'm amazed that people like him exist. How does his brain work that he could possibly try to twist the situation to blame OP? The level of delusion and entitlement it takes to do what he did and still think that you're in the right. Also, not just a bad boyfriend, but also a mediocre son and a shitty gift giver too. Just a real triple threat of awfulness. Yeah, that's why his mother was really upset. She thought he'd finally done something nice and thoughtful, but he'd just forgotten about her again. I'm stuck on the idea that he stole the present from OP and let his mum open it in front of OP and then expected OP to just go along with it? And then he gets mad because he gets caught lying and setting a record for disappointing 2 women at once, and probably not for the first or last time. What a spineless, thoughtless asshole. Yeah, manipulation 101. You're not going to disappoint this collateral person, right? Smile and nod like a good girl. A year ago, I, 27 female, broke up with my lying boyfriend, 27 male. Today, I found out that everyone else was lying and he was being truthful. A year ago, I was about to move in with my first serious boyfriend, Josh, with whom I was head over heels in love, when one of my closest friends said that Josh had showed them a nude photo of me on his phone when he was drunk during a party. 5 or 6 more of my friends corroborated the story and told me that Josh also talked in extreme detail about our sex life when showing the photo. It was sickeningly detailed. This did not at all sound like Josh. When I asked him what the hell was going on, he denied everything. He eventually got very angry and started calling all of my friends liars. At one point, he showed up at my place while some of them were visiting and things got a little physical. It was really a very strange turn of events in my life. Josh seemed so worked up and all of my close friends were calling him a liar. Josh had taken photos of me on his phone, which I know was stupid, but heat of the moment and everything. So I trusted my friends, and I broke up with Josh. It was heart-wrenching. Josh begged me to believe him. He started tearing up, nearly punched a wall, and left angrily. I was really grossed out at that time, and felt super conflicted. A few months later, I started dating one of my friends, Alex, who had told me about Josh showing everyone the photo. All of my friends were pushing me to date Alex at that time. We didn't really sync, and it didn't go past a few months, but we remain friends of sorts. So today, another friend sends me a message that says that he just wanted to get something off of his chest. The story about Josh wasn't true, and they were really just trying to get me to date Alex, so they made that story up about Josh. After talking to a few of the other people, including Alex, it's all come out that they were lying. It was this effing orchestrated bullshit event that totally changed my life forever. Apparently they hated Josh and thought that he was bad for me and an asshole. That was my effing decision. I'm shaking right now. I cried in the office bathroom for about 2 hours afterwards. I loved Josh so much. We were planning a life together, and I've been friends with that group since high school. Like, what the hell? I guess I'm supposed to stop talking to my friends, right? I cannot possibly come back from this and still talk to them, right? This basically nukes my group of friends. But how could I ever even look at them again? Also, I need closure with Josh. Can I call him? Should I call him? Should I unblock him on Facebook and message him? What do I do? In the comments, a deleted user says, "Holy shit." Yes, at the very least, these people need to not be part of your life ever again. Nuke the friends, find new friends. Even a life of bitter, friendless loneliness is better than the one that involves these people. Make no exception, cut all contact. So gross. As for Josh, you should reach out to him. You owe him an apology for how things went down. I don't know if this will mean anything further will happen, but the conversation should be at least him learning the truth about what went down. Yes, unblock him from Facebook and write a long letter. If this goes unanswered, attempt to get the message to him through one of his friends. Good luck. I don't think there's any harm in her writing Josh a letter or message saying how sorry she is for not trusting him and that she knows the truth. It doesn't have to be with any implication of getting back together. Just a heartfelt apology so she has her closure, and so he at least has the opportunity to receive a well-deserved apology. I second this. Writing an actual handwritten letter would be so much heavier than an instant message. Plus, you'll think more carefully about what you say if you are physically writing it down. Good luck, OP. I'm confident you will find new, better friends who don't play with people. It's not even as if she's nuking friends. Friends don't pull this kind of shit. F-wits who don't want to be in your life do. It's like they all think they're living in a sitcom or rom-com where you can happily sabotage your friends' relationships and set them up with someone else, and even if they find out, it all ends happily ever after. Even if they did honestly think that they had OP's best interests in mind, they are clearly a bunch of complete tools to think that they can pull this shit. Except Alex, who didn't think that he was living in a cutesy sitcom or rom-com, but was actually just being manipulative because he wanted to get his dick wet. OP replies, "I've deleted Facebook. I don't even want to look at what's going on there. I'm going to type something up tonight for Josh. I hope his email is still the same. I really appreciate the advice. I've been digesting it all as it came in. Still reeling. Thank the guy that told the truth. He's going to catch major shit for this. Then you should recognize that no one you don't trust should be in your life, and apologize to Josh for not believing him. God, this is a shitty situation they put you in." Out of curiosity, what made you believe your friends over Josh when he denied it? How did your friend know sickening details about your sex life if Josh didn't tell them? OP replies, "The details given to me were pretty generic in retrospect, but they mentioned fluids and shit. I just hated hearing them out loud. It grossed me out to hear these friends talk about me and Josh having sex. I honestly didn't really think about my friends lying. At that time, I just thought, of course Josh would deny it. I don't know. I've been friends with this group for so long that it didn't really cross my mind that this was possible, especially after they all confirmed it." And now, onto the update. Even though everyone seemed to think that this was a terrible idea, I sent Josh an email on Friday. I copied it here. "Josh, I don't know if you're still connected to anyone on Facebook, but if you are, you probably already know why I'm sending this. And I know it's totally unfair and selfish to contact you, but I cannot imagine going through the rest of my life without apologizing. So before I say a bunch of embarrassing things, more than anything, I want to say that I'm sorry I did not trust you. I'm sorry that I let other people decide our relationship. I am sorry for what I put you through. But I figure this might be my only chance to say this, so here comes the really lame, embarrassing stuff. I spent the past day thinking about the past year, where I would be if I had believed you, what my life would be like, would we be engaged, would we be married? I'm not over you. I want to try again. I'm not asking you to marry me, but if you ever find yourself thirsty, I would love to buy you a beverage of your choice. I want to talk to you again. I miss everything about our relationship. I miss you getting annoyed when I stole your French fries. I miss fighting with you over money. I miss making you breakfast. I miss watching The Office with you over and over and over. I miss you. My information is still the same. I wouldn't blame you if you ignored and deleted this. Just know that I know. I am really sorry." So I sent it and tried to take my mind off of it. Just writing it and sending it was extremely cathartic. I spent Saturday morning sitting around watching old movies when someone rang my doorbell. Assuming it was Amazon, I ignored it and waited for the delivery driver to leave so that I could sneak out and grab the package. I was in my robe. After a minute or two, I walked over to the door and looked through the hall. It was Josh. Obviously, my heart leapt into my throat. I had been compulsively checking my phone for a response, but I was not expecting something like that. Everything in my house, including me, was pretty disheveled. I cracked the door, smiled, said hi, and told him that I had to get dressed really quick. What a terrible interaction. So I ran around my place throwing shit into corners, pulled my hair back, found something to wear, and went back to the door. "I'm here for that beverage," he says. I only had orange juice and water, which was also pretty embarrassing, but Josh stuck around anyways. He didn't ask many questions, really. I started to talk about the nude photo incident, but he said he didn't really care to talk about it. "We both know all the details now," he says. The conversation eventually grew a bit aimless, and we were just talking like old times. It was wonderful. He asked if I was hungry. I wasn't really, but of course I said I was. We went to a nearby burger place that we used to go to all the time. He did ask whether or not I had dated Alex, but he didn't seem upset by my answer. I asked him if he had dated anyone, and he said he had a 6-month relationship in the interim. She sounded great, but I didn't pry. When we got back to my place, Josh asked what I was doing for the rest of the day. And I said, I don't have any plans. We spent the rest of the day together, and then the night. It's totally stupid to move that fast, but I'm not going to spend much time worrying about it. I'm feeling happy. We spent part of Sunday together too, then Tuesday and Wednesday. We discussed what we were doing. 2 single people dating each other was the consensus. Exclusive? Yes. I think the world of him and will always regret what happened. No matter what though, I'm extremely happy that I sent the letter to him. It's interesting to think that if he'd actually done what everyone accused him of, and then I took him back, I would probably have trust issues. Now, obviously, I trust him to the core. He could tell me the world was flat, and I'd have trouble questioning him. Just a weird thought that I've been having. So that's the story. We're together again. Will it work out? I hope so, but no matter what, things are better today than they were last week. In the comments, Jelinor11 says, I am so happy for you. Your last post seemed so sad, and I could feel your distress. I wish you all the best in your future. I just hope that you've cut your old friends out of your life, and I'm glad you trust Josh fully. Good luck. Out of all the updates I've read on here, this one has brought me the most happiness and joy. I am extremely happy that things panned out this way and that you were able to reunite with each other. Most people expressed reaching out without any expectations, and I'm glad the outcome surpassed your expectations in every way. Seriously, I'm happy for the both of you, and I hope you eventually hit those milestones of engagement and marriage. I know I'd love to hit those points too sometime soon with the woman that I want to be with. Those friends are vile people. Just to play matchmaker like OP, Josh and Alex are Barbies that they could swap around. I hate people who manipulate people like that with a passion. My high school band director was like that, both in terms of position in the band and setting us against each other, but also in the ways that built people up who would cause relationship drama. And that man is responsible for so many therapy bills. I can't imagine people being such shitheads destroying lives, completely amoral with zero sense of empathy. Glad that it didn't work out with that dick Alex. Wow, Josh is more forgiving than most would be. I kinda went through something similar, and you end up missing them like nothing else. It's comparatively easy when someone cheats or just breaks up with you because they felt like it, compared to when they've been manipulated and never get over that they didn't make this choice. It was made for them by dishonest people. It makes it easy to forgive because they're not really at fault when they've been manipulated. Yeah, that's also my take on this. He knew she was being manipulated, and it had to be hard knowing that she had known him quite less than her gaggle of friends, and therefore trusted them more than him. He knew they lied, but she had no reason to think that all of her friends were lying. Our next post is by user Direct Caterpillar, titled, Am I the asshole for getting mad at my friends for having sex beside me while I was asleep? My friends and I, 25 female, were on a getaway to the mountains and had rented a house for our stay. After a long day, we returned back to the house, relaxed, had our dinner, and divided all the rooms amongst ourselves. I was sharing the room with my friend 25 female, Nancy. All goes well. We turn the lights off and I'm asleep before I know it because I was so tired. In the middle of the night, I was awakened by an earthquake. Or so I thought. The bed is moving and peculiar noises seem to be coming from behind me. I turn around and, lo and behold, my 2 very naked friends are going at it right beside me. I literally jumped out of bed. They tried to cover up as fast as they could, but I'd already seen things I'll never forget. I was seeing red, lol. It triggered a shitty memory from my childhood where I had been in a very similar situation, but with my parents. I yelled at them and straight up started insulting both of them, and I said pretty mean stuff. I then dashed out of the room and spent the night on the couch in the cold. The next morning, my other friend who found me on the couch asked me what happened and that she heard me yelling last night. I told her the whole story and for some reason, she found it funny. When everyone else found out about what happened, they started laughing and making jokes, which I didn't mind since it lightened the mood a little. Nancy and the guy, Rick, soon came out of the room as well. Everyone told me to just forget about it and enjoy the rest of the trip, but Nancy told me that I was way too rude for something so silly. Rick didn't say much. He looked kind of embarrassed at the whole thing. I told Nancy that they could have just woken me up and asked me to leave if they were so horny, and that I had every right to be mad because you don't start banging on a bed where someone is literally sleeping. Nancy said that I was overreacting and that it was not that deep. I was annoyed and pissed and told her to stay away from me for the rest of the trip since we were all there to enjoy. Now that we're back, Nancy refuses to talk to me and is adamant in saying that I was the one who was at fault and is being a pain in my ass in general. She's calling me a virgin, which I am, and claiming that I'm just jealous that she is more desirable than me. She said all of this to my face in private, so no one in the group knows. Everyone in the friend group thinks that I should just let it go and reconcile with Nancy and Rick, but Nancy keeps putting all the blame on me, and it's getting on my nerve now. So, am I the asshole? In the comments, Rad Regina says, "Not the asshole. And it sounds like you need new friends. Nancy literally gaslit you for being uncomfortable about being involved in their sex act without your consent, because that's what it is. Normal people don't have sex with a sleeping person in their bed with them. This isn't Pornhub. They probably got off on doing something sneaky. They involved you in their sexual fantasy without your consent. That's first and foremost. Second, being a virgin is not an insult, and someone using your personal choice as an insult when it's truly none of their business is vile. Claiming that you're jealous because she is just more desirable is some narc behavior. Please get better friends. This isn't gaslighting. Gaslighting would be saying that she never had sex beside her on the bed in the first place, and that OP must be imagining it. What this is sexual harassment and assault, depending on where it happened. Not the asshole. Having sex next to someone without their consent is disgusting, and you have every right to be upset. Literally, I didn't even have to read anything past the title to know that my vote is not the asshole. You are never the asshole for being upset when someone involves you in any sexual act without your consent, point blank, period. My roommate and I had a bunk bed set up in our dorm, and I had the top bunk. I can't even count the number of times I woke up in the bed moving back and forth from him and his girlfriend screwing. Not the asshole. Nancy and Rick, however, are disgusting people. They probably even thought that it would be hotter to screw each other whilst you kept sleeping, and the danger of waking up made it more intense. However, you broke the magic by waking up, and that is why Nancy is mad and Rick embarrassed. Both of them get a solid 3 out of 5 asshole points. Reminds me of college. A girl I knew had a shitty roommate who invited her boyfriend over for sex while the other girl was sleeping. She woke up to the sound of her roommate and roommate's boyfriend going at it. She was mortified and pretended to still be asleep, but the boyfriend let out a huge fart and she couldn't help but laugh. And then they got mad at her like she was somehow the one in the wrong. And now, onto the update. Someone asked me to update, so here you go. I don't think they'll let me update on the sub, so I'll just put it here for anyone who's interested. Turns out Nancy and Rick were using me to fulfill some weird sexual fantasy, and the whole group was in on it. They all knew that Rick and Nancy were planning on doing something like this, and they both did it with me particularly, because I'm waiting for marriage to have sex, and am still a virgin. I've been an inside joke in the friend group for God knows how long, and I had no idea that they thought of me like that. They just think that because I'm waiting for marriage, I'm a loser who can't get anybody to sleep with me, as if I'm not a sane adult who can make her own choices regarding her own damn body. 2 people in the group had done the exact same thing with another girl, but that girl had laughed it off, so they saw nothing wrong with it. They just thought that it would be so funny to prank me like that. A guy in the same group told me all of this privately after I shared the link to the original post in our group chat. He said that he would have told me on the trip itself, but he got pressured into staying quiet because it'll ruin the fun. I am truly disgusted. Rick did apologize, but I haven't heard from Nancy. The others who were laughing said they didn't think that it would be a big deal and wouldn't have participated if they knew that it would make me uncomfortable. They don't know that I know about all the jokes that they make on me behind my back, and all the apologies came only after I shared the post and made them read what the comments were saying. I have decided to ghost them altogether. I'd rather have no friends than associate myself with a bunch of judgmental idiots who act like 16-year-olds. I also want to clarify that the childhood memory I'd mentioned wasn't abusive. My parents were doing it beside me thinking I was asleep, but I woke up from the noises they were making. The room was dark, I didn't see anything except their silhouettes, and they never realized that I was awake. Thank you to everyone who showed their support and gave advice. Am I the asshole for not letting my husband meet our firstborn child? My husband has this best friend, Anna. They've been friends for a long time and dated years ago, mutually deciding that it's best for them to remain friends. I've had no problem with this relationship up until now. On the day that I gave birth, Anna's brother got into a car accident. My husband got a call from her in the middle of the night and asked him if he could drop her at the hospital that her brother was at, which was an hour away from us, since she was too scared to drive. My husband agreed, told me quickly while I was half asleep, and then rushed out. A few hours later, I had contractions and I called my husband. He didn't pick up after multiple tries, so I gave up and called my dad, who drove me to the local hospital, which was only 12 minutes away. I was so scared of giving birth alone since I've had about 3 miscarriages and 1 stillborn. My husband promised me that no matter what, he would be there for me. But guess what? He wasn't. We called multiple times while I was in labor, and when he finally picked up my dad's call when I was giving birth, he said that he'd misplaced his phone in all the chaos. My dad informed him no matter how fast he drives anymore, he's going to miss the birth of his child. Well, my husband took that as, he's already screwed up, so it doesn't matter when he shows up at this point. So when he finally came, our daughter was about 5 hours old, and I'd already been moved to the maternity ward. When he came, I refused to let him see our baby. Edit, I did let our husband hold and play with the baby after the discharge, because I was so high on emotions and was shaking when I saw him and didn't want it to negatively affect my time with the baby. I wanted her birth to be a happy time, and I was already struggling to feed her. My husband was in a bad state and told me to please let him see her. So I told him to stand by the window and held the baby up so that he could see her. I told him to then leave, and he'll be allowed to interact with the baby at my father's home when we are both well and out of the hospital, and that I was most likely divorcing him. He started bawling and apologizing and defended himself by saying that Anna's brother was in a serious critical condition, and although he's fine, Anna needed him. Though Anna's parents were there, she was not that close with them and she was in an unbearable state. I told him that I didn't care, and that his daughter has already come second to him, and all she did was be born. I'm putting my daughter and my health first, and I won't let her be sidelined. My husband agreed, and then left. However, Anna called me later and said that I was being controlling, and said that she'd never met someone as cruel as me for not letting a father see his baby. I told her that my husband made his decision, and that this was his doing, not mine. But now I can't help but feel cruel in my actions and feel like I'm depriving my baby of both her parents being together. My husband sees her a few hours each day now, but am I the asshole? Edit, I feel like this is useful information and could explain why I was so mad. Anna's brother was not in a life or death situation. He had serious injuries, yes, but most were concentrated on his legs and arm. He did have a concussion, but he gained consciousness soon thereafter. Anna was there along with both her parents, who managed all of the hospital stuff. My husband was there as an emotional support for Anna. I did let our husband see our baby right after I got discharged. Edit, husband saw baby, husband held baby, husband played with baby. I wanted a couple of days rest and bonding with the baby since my emotions were so high, and I was afraid if my husband was a continuous presence, I would get stressed and something bad would happen. I told him as such. They spent time together, but I am still cold with him. I may still be the asshole, I don't know, but I'm still so mad at him, and it's not the first time he put Anna before me. I can forgive the other times since I could handle it, but this time was the last straw. I was so scared to hold my baby because I was paranoid the minute I touched her that something would happen to her, and no one was there to comfort me. I only had my dad, but he wasn't in the delivery room, which is why I'm not too keen on forgiving my husband. Also, we both knew the baby was due any time now, so I don't understand why my husband didn't have his phone on him. We even tried reaching out to Anna, and she didn't pick up either. After he learned that I was giving birth, they already knew that Anna's brother was going to be alright. He spent that time making sure that Anna was okay and feeding her, and then waiting for the brother to regain consciousness. He could have come back after seeing his daughter to talk with her brother. He would have made it back in time. Edit: so many of you got it wrong. I'm not preventing him from ever seeing his baby. That is stupid and unreasonable. He literally saw her about a day later when we were discharged and safely at my dad's home. He already didn't see her for 5 hours on purpose and put Anna first. I didn't think an additional day would make much of a difference, and it didn't to him. He was happy to see the baby and spends time with her all the time. She's 2 months old now. And also, I'm not mad about the fact that he went to see Anna. I'm mad that he didn't think that we were a high enough priority to rush back to. He left me so quickly in the middle of the night when I was already late, but he couldn't have left Anna in the care of her parents and then rushed back as soon as possible? She's not a child, and she doesn't have any mental health issues either. Edit 3. So sorry for all the edits, but someone just messaged this. What if my baby was born a stillborn again? He had no way to know since he and I didn't have any contact after I gave birth. Thank the stars, my baby is healthy and well, but it was a possibility. In the comments, Queen Aurelia says, not the asshole. Let's ignore the fact that he ran to her rescue in the middle of the night while you were far along in your pregnancy. Any decent husband would make sure to have his phone on him 24/7 when not at home with a wife about to give birth. As soon as he found out that you were in labor, he should have rushed to be with you. He chose Anna over you and your daughter. He missed the most important moment in your lives to be there for her. Then he called Anna to complain to her about you. I'm not a jealous person, but there's no way that I would tolerate his behavior and his obvious putting Anna before you. I would seriously be considering divorce as well. Marriage counseling at a bare minimum. I would also be concerned about his feelings and relationship with Anna. I absolutely cannot get over him calling and complaining to Anna and telling her about this. Not the asshole. All these excuses about his phone totally miss the point. He shouldn't have been running off to support Anna at all. She was supposed to be there to support her parents and brother. She didn't need your husband to support her. You had already suffered 3 miscarriages, and your husband chose to prioritize Anna over his actual wife. And then he decided that his screwing up by not being there for you was an excuse to just stay with Anna? Quote, Anna called me later and said that I was being controlling. This really takes the cake. In what universe is it appropriate for her to call and scold you? The fact that she felt that it was okay for her to get involved tells you that they are too much emotionally enmeshed for your marriage to survive. Get your life in order and leave them to each other. He's a real piece of work for crying to Anna about it, especially since he knew his relationship was already at stake. They are clearly having an emotional affair and are probably screwing as well. Not the asshole. I'll say it. They're having an affair. There is no reason that he should have left your side. She could have taken a taxi. She could have Ubered. Always trust your instincts. By the way, the fact that he went back to her after his argument with you tells me all I need to know. He didn't go back to her, but he called her. I don't blame him for driving her. I don't even blame him for missing the birth if he was on his way over, knowing that he would be late. It's the fact that he chose to stay about 5 hours longer with Anna and not see his baby. That showed me that seeing his baby was second priority to Anna. If seeing his baby was so important to him, he would have come to see me. Which is why at first I thought it wasn't cruel to let him not see his daughter for another day or so, since he already missed so much. None of this is your fault. You don't have to be rational after giving birth, after you just put your body and hormones through so much trauma, and you had to do it alone. Anna's brother didn't. He had both of his parents, his sister, and his sister's best friend. You had your dad, who wasn't even in the room with you. I don't think you're wrong for reevaluating your relationship with this man. If he's not cheating, then he has to be the most idiotic man alive. Let him have a relationship with his daughter, but he's proved himself useless to you. Yeah, I'm going with everyone else on this one. The fact that he chose not to have his phone on him, especially when you're so late into the pregnancy, is unforgivable. I really don't care in this instance if you can attribute malice to what could so easily be ignorance, because it's unacceptable. His actions this entire time were unacceptable. I don't even think the quote, "the road to hell is paved with good intentions," even applies in this post, because, everything that he did beforehand to go help Anna, that's understandable. Like, yeah, shit, you don't know that your wife is going to give birth tonight. You might as well take her to there because that's what you've always done. Sure. But then everything else just screams to me, hell nah, this was not a mistake. This man is cheating. I'm putting my life savings on the fact that this man is cheating because no one should ever do that to their wife. He may well be the world's dumbest husband, but I think at the same stroke, he's also the world's most malicious and heartless husband towards his wife. I genuinely wish the worst for this man, and thank God the divorce is happening because he deserves it. And now, on to the update. Thank you everyone for your replies. I think that I was an asshole for using my child against him and should have told him that he could hold and then asked him to leave. So the divorce is probably going to happen. My brother is looking at lawyers for me. In the midst of this whole mess, this post made me realize that I never checked on Anna's brother to see how he's healing because I was so irked by Anna. I called him and he said that he was doing well and will be out of his wheelchair soon. He asked me about me and the baby and how I was doing with the split, and if I was okay with my husband and Anna. I can't believe that I was so oblivious. I thought they had an emotional thing going on because of this, and when I confronted my husband, he denied it and said me and our baby were his priority and that he made a mistake, and he was being dumb. Yeah, no. Anna's brother kindly informed me that he and Anna's parents thought that my husband and I split when I was 7 months pregnant and that Anna and him were back on. He showed up at the hospital as Anna's boyfriend, which is why they didn't bat an eye that he was there and not with his pregnant wife, because apparently we split. Her brother's procedures were done well before the afternoon, so I don't know what my husband and Anna were doing for all those hours, but I don't even want to know. If you want more details, I can answer in a comment. Thanks everyone for your kind words and advice. I will be moving back home and filing for full custody. I don't want my baby growing up to be like her father or Anna. He can be fun dad or whatever it is that he wants to be. Last edit. I think I'm going to be taking a break from Reddit now because ranting on the internet doesn't seem healthy. Thanks everyone for your support. I'll take it from here. In the comments, Pear Melon says, his wife has multiple miscarriages and a stillbirth, and he still decides to have an affair and miss his child's birth? And his affair partner decided to call his wife and complain about how mean the wife is to her misunderstood spouse? Yup. At first, I wasn't going to make this post out of this because the story is relatively simple and familiar, but the more you think about it, the more you realize that this guy and his side piece are exceptionally terrible people. For F's sake, the guy took off in the middle of the night for a booty call, even though the baby was like a jack-in-the-box that was ready to pop out at any moment, got countless calls that his daughter was being born, knowing that OP might have to face a stillbirth alone, but still decided that that wasn't important enough for him to finish getting his dick wet. That is one remarkable piece of shit. To think that he didn't check if his child wasn't a stillborn for 5 hours is the most insane part. This person does not care about anything other than his own pleasure. I'm adding this to the list of people whose graves deserve to be pissed on. I'm gonna have to drink a lot because that list is getting longer with each post. I did a screenwriting course once, many years ago, and one thing that we were taught about drama was to write the stories and scenes to deepen the drama. Like, you've placed your characters in the worst situations imaginable, and then you have to crank it, make it even worse, take it to the apotheosis of terribleness. This poor woman's story does just that. God, I wish her and her baby the best. What a truly terrible man. Life 101. 1. Anyone who emotionally relies on your spouse that much is bad news. Rushing out in the middle of the night with barely a goodbye? Bad news. 2. Anyone who thinks that you're being the big meanie when they're the one who is unreachable for literally no reason is bad news. Poor woman, I hope she finds someone who rocks her world one day and shows her what love actually is. 'Cause this asswipe sure didn't. Especially when your wife is about to have a baby, Doubly so when she's had several miscarriages and stillbirths and is terrified of giving birth alone. Dude didn't even pause going out the door. I think I'm ready to rein in the basket of assholes comment that I always make about these people and think pissing on their graves is really the future innovation of this one. I think dancing on and potentially burning his grave is what we should do in this instance, because Heartless doesn't even begin to describe what his actions were this entire time. This is just one of those instances where it's like, why did you not just break up with your wife, get that divorce, and then get your dick wet? Instead, you had to cause the breakup in the worst way possible, and then still claim that you love and support your wife, even after it's so obvious everything you've done. Like, why not just be the bigger person and just get it over with beforehand at that 7-month mark? I don't know, man. People just really sucked sometimes and do deserve to have their graves pissed on, that's for sure.